Welcome to the Poor Sports Podcast. This is Casey McLean. I have a compromised voice. Please don't let it ruin the podcast.
It held up well, though.
Yeah, I feel like I listened to a podcast I recorded, like a solo podcast, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. In my head,
yeah,
it sounds very bad.
Well, when I walked in the door, it sounded worse than it sounds now.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad in the morning because I've taxed it.
Yeah, you've definitely you raw dogged that voice.
Oh, baby. I'm going to be creating new voices, young new voices that I can't raise myself. We talked about a lot of stuff today. We had a lot to talk about that we kind of glossed over, but I'm going to give you the full list of topics. We watched just a slobber knocker of a fight. We finally watched some combat sports. We watched the Cartnarks. We skipped the Mariners in and out, not commercial, but video, which I thought was actually very funny.
Yeah. Although we can talk about the Mariners more next week, or baseball in general,
sure,
since it'll be preceding the start of the season.
Yes. Talked briefly about Aaron Rodgers, Scotty Scheffler, Ja Morant, Edwin Diaz, and Shohei Ohtani, but more about the World Baseball Classic in general.
Yeah. Which
neither of us watched. Well, you watched more than I did.
We formed some opinions on some things we didn't watch.
I watched one at bat in retrospect. We talked about the Roger Goodell extension, Antoine Davis, who you probably don't even know who he is, and then the
stick around for Antoine Davis.
And then we closed out. Well, we did the home run game again, but and we're doing it every week.
It's our best home run game.
Pretty goddamn good. Stick around for the home run game, or fast forward to it if you don't want to. Stick around. And then we talked about the Mina Kimes racial slur incident, which makes it sound like Mina Kimes said a racial slur.
She was the victim
of
a racial slur.
All right. Thank you. Follow me at the Casey McLean, June 25th, Tacoma Comedy Club. Stand-up dates at the Casey McLean on Instagram.
Alex SSN.
Everywhere except for Instagram and anywhere but Twitter.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening. Tell your friends, subscribe, rate us, whatever, all that bullshit.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
All right. This is going to be the second sober episode.
We're doing good.
Is it maybe 3? Have we done 3?
We should keep up a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And just start marking them down.
We get tokens for every sober episode, which is unfortunate because I do feel like drinking whiskey, but I don't. My voice is fucked. I've been filling my body with ibuprofen and anti-inflammatory, anything I can find. I haven't done stand-up in like 10 days.
Wow.
And there's like I don't have shows scheduled. I would have scheduled shows, but I'm like, I don't know when this is going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done shows with a voice like this, and I'm not Chris Rock. I'm not like stomping the stage and yelling, but it really does. It like affects me. It's, I'm sure it's not a crazy, but like want to be emphatic on stage and I'm limited.
You'll sound defeated instead of excited.
Even though nobody has seen me before. Like, normally when I go to a show, very few people have seen me before. When you hear a guy that's like, because he can't, his throat's inflamed. So why not just talk into a microphone and record it forever?
Yeah, let's see what happens after 90 minutes. Although I do think if you had whiskey with this condition about halfway through, you might not be able to speak. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I
think you wouldn't be able to speak. I think it would affect you.
Interesting.
In a negative
now
way.
It kind of
although
like
maybe if you put like some honey in it.
Yeah, that's what I think. The whiskey people think that there's people that prescribe whiskey as like the cure for a cold.
Yeah,
and those people are called severe alcoholics. Every one of them is.
It's not. Yeah, like Back to the Future 3. They just give them whiskey for everything. It's like, no, that's not how the real world works.
Yeah. Okay. So. And the other reason you're not drinking because you checked into rehab yesterday and broke out for this today.
We should just constantly keep making jokes about my day-to-day sobriety. No, last night I went to the Seattle Thunderbirds 2 for Tuesday hockey game, which I go to pretty much all of them with my buddies. And it's 2 for 2. It used to be $2 Tuesday.
I'm cramping your style. By having this,
no, there's only like 8 a year, like gotcha, 8 a season. It's not. Right. It doesn't happen very often. But when the schedule works out that way, you get like half price tickets. They do half price drinks. They do like $2 hot dogs, popcorn, soda. It's a pretty good deal. It's very affordable. You could literally walk into that stadium with a $20 bill and fill yourself up over the course of a game. It used to be that it was $2 beers as well, but then a fight broke out one
Yeah.
day. And that wasn't even that long ago. This was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And after the fight broke out, they were like, well, we can do half price beers, but the $2 thing is out the window.
They gentrified fights out of that Tuesday night.
They were probably looking for any excuse to raise the price, and
Sure.
that was perfect. But the $2 beer nights, those were dangerous, man. You'd go in there and you would just get like an armful of PBR cans, and you'd be good for the evening.
Yeah, the Tacoma Rainiers they do something on Thursdays, right?
Thursdays,
and it's you have to drink Coors Light, which for you is probably not a problem. For me, it presents a little bit of a problem, a moral dilemma.
Yeah, I like a few years ago, I believe it was, they switched to Coors from Bud.
Gotcha.
You know, all these stadiums and arenas, they all get tied in with one distributor of alcohol. T-Mobile Arena in Vegas is notoriously a Anheuser-Busch arena, and all they have is Bud and Bud Light, and then all the various versions of Bud and Bud Light, like Estrella Jalisco, Mexican Bud Light.
Yes.
You know, so you find a stadium that gets tied to one of those providers. That can be very divisive. I'm not really a Bud guy myself. It's got a weird aftertaste.
You're wow, you really can. I would like to do. We should do this on here because we've also talked about doing where I'm going to try to make you like IPAs at some point.
Yeah.
And at some point, we should also do a blind taste test of macro lagers.
Okay.
And see if you can actually tell the difference.
I can probably tell the difference between Bud Light and anything else.
Gotcha. You think
but
so?
I don't think anything else I would be able to notice a difference, really.
I remember when I found out that, so Rainier is not brewed in Washington State anymore.
Yeah.
It's brewed by the Pabst Brewing Company. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, well, Pabst makes a similar product.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same thing with a different can.
Product. They just throw it in a different can.
And then you find out that there's a bunch of those regional, like Lone Star in Texas is just Pabst with a Texas flag on it, basically.
Yeah, they did it with a lot of different things. Yeah, Olympia was in there for a while. They had a bunch. They bought up a bunch. And so if you notice the difference between those, you are some sort of expert, or it might be the placebo effect.
Yes. Even I remember when I found out, and this is maybe, a little apocryphal, but I believe my understanding is Keystone Light is Coors Light that was it didn't fail the QC test like it would be a problem, but it's not, it's like the B stock of Coors Light.
God, imagine.
Yeah.
Now those people out there drinking Keystone Light, I get that there is a little bit of a price difference between the Keystone Lights of the world and then the Coors Lights of the world, but it's so minimal. It's so minimal that if you're actually making that decision based on price over taste, maybe you just shouldn't be drinking at all.
I think step it up to a European Pilsner would be my.
But you're an elevated.
That's true.
Beer man.
Elevated beer man. That might be the name of this podcast. There's I was in Atlanta many years ago, and my friend, I was 22 or 23, so we were all poor and new to not new to drinking, but
you're
new to
enough
being adults and drinking, right? So we bought 40 packs of Keystone Light, 3 of them, in 5 days. Me and my buddy did the majority of the drinking, and then there was a cast of characters from Atlanta. He's from here, so I stayed with him.
Yeah.
And then there was a cast of characters that he was friends with out there that came in and would just share this. But I had 60 or 70 Keystone Lights in the 5 days I was there.
That's impressive.
And also we went to this place, it's probably gone, or maybe it's a different name or whatever. It's called Wild Bill's. And they had it was a $2 beer night.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was doing a little better financially, not a lot, but a little better financially than these dudes. And so I bought a round of $2 beers. And they were like, oh, fuck, we've never even thought to do that.
When you're in your early 20s, dude, buying drinks for your friends or really anybody is unheard of. It's the first time
I spent $8.
I don't remember I don't remember the first time it happened, but the first time it does happen, the feeling is oh, shit. I got to catch up. When someone buys around for the group at first, you're like, man, either they're really rich or I'm really poor. Yeah. Or something has gone terribly wrong here.
Yeah. Do you, now when you go out, do you ever, this is the way I do it, and we'll split the bill. That's one option. The other option is one of us pays the whole bill and then the other person pays the next time, or you do the Venmo thing. We don't need to make this fucking waitress do math 6 ways and try to figure out everyone's bill to, like, how fucking cheap are we? And then it's also like a little bit of, this is like personal, but I'm like, I'm represented by this tip now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, the funny thing about the Venmo thing is that it always comes to people after the fact, right? The bill comes and everybody pulls their card out, and then one person will be like, hey, we could just Venmo each other, and then that saves everybody the trouble. But I get it. It's awkward, especially when you're with people that you're not going to see again anytime soon. If it's the same group of friends you go out with, every few weeks, one of you picks up one, the other one picks up the other, pretty easy. But when it's like a group of dudes, especially, no one really knows what to do. And there's always like one person that wants to step up and be the baller that's like, I got it. And it's like, that's going to be weird for you ultimately, and then for all of us at the same time.
I remember I was dating a woman before my wife. The woman I dated before my wife, we went out. She was a couple years older than me, which is crazy to imagine. I thought she was like older. She was 27. I was 23.
Yeah, I had a similar relationship with the exact same age gap that you just mentioned.
In your mind, you're like, this is like a spring and November relationship, and you're like, no, that's like spring and later that same month. Like that's. But she had a friend. Her roommate was like, no, I don't think it was a roommate. Some like alcoholic lady she was friends with that would just buy everybody's tab.
That's
for no
great.
reason. Yeah. So I went and I was like, this is going to be like $120 bill for us. And this lady just like paid it all.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I didn't even want to be here. So this is great. I'm glad she did that.
Those guys, I know those types of people. They never stay in your life for long. But for the short time that they're there, it's great. Yeah. Because you actually get to the point where you expect them to do those things. Like you go out, you're like, oh, we're going out with so-and-so. Awesome. Yeah. Like I might as well leave my wallet at home because they got it all taken care of and we can go as hard as we want. They don't care. Usually they make good money, so it's legit. Like they're actually,
or they have like a good divorce settlement they recently went through in this case, I think.
But, something really good like that. And those people are great, man. They'll pick it up and like you don't feel bad about it. Like if you have your buddies that you're going out with and one of them picks up even like say a $10 lunch tab or something, you feel a little bit bad about it because you generally know how much money they make, right?
Yeah.
And so it can be a weird place to be, man. And as you get older, it gets slightly easier. But when you're in your 20s especially, no one really knows what to do in those situations.
Yeah, I had one of my buddies turned, I don't know, like 22 or something, and I was still 21. And I didn't have any money. It was like, days away from payday or whatever.
Yeah.
And he lent me money to go out for his birthday.
Yeah.
And then I bought him a bunch of drinks, but it's like you kind of bought... I paid him back.
But that's a good friend, man.
Yeah.
Right? And I think there are so many times, especially when you're in that period in your life where I think in your 20s, you want to admit, you don't want to admit that you're poor, but we're all poor. We're all poor. Like if you actually have a rich friend in your 20s, like they probably kind of suck. Like their parents are facilitating everything for them and they're never going to grow up the way the rest of us will.
Either that or they are like a plumber. Yeah. And they're like tired. Yeah. They can't stay out past 7 p.m. Yeah. Like
there's always the friend that like they didn't go to college. They got into a job right away. Yeah. And at like 22, they're making more money than you'll make when you're 30. Right. So there's always that guy. But in general, it's a tough time to navigate finances, but you still want to go out and try and be a baller in your 20s.
What do you think you spent on what a 2 for Tuesday at the Thunderbirds game?
I think I had 2 beers and it was like $14, but they were the 24-ounce cans.
Gotcha.
So
have you reached the point in your life where that's enough to ruin your next day? You said you didn't want to drink today because of that. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't drink a lot of beer, but when you're at those games, I mean, that's really when you're at any game. That's generally
it's like that or seltzer.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options outside of that, especially at a minor leae hockey game. You go to the Mariners and they actually have like mixed drinks at places and things like that, which is very nice. But 2 beers, like I can't even. This is what getting older looks like. Because like I did the same thing you did in my 20s, where it's like you'd go get like a 30 bomb of whatever cheap ass beer you could find, and you and your buddies could crush that, you know, in an afternoon, no problem. Now, like 2 Coors Lights, and I'm like, I don't feel great, and I feel like everything is full. And then I'm dragging the whole next day. It's beer. I might have a gluten intolerance. I don't want to.
I think we all do a little bit. I think that's what
and
they
I
say,
love
right?
sandwiches, so I'm not going to go get that checked out. I'm going to keep eating my sandwiches and just know that beer doesn't go so well.
Yeah, I have a buddy, actually. So another story of people owing each other money. When we were 19, we went to Canada, and we didn't know it was Halloween weekend, right? By the way, his name's Derek Wakefield. He actually used to work in Seattle radio. Okay. I went to high school with him. We were like childhood best friends. We don't talk anymore for reasons that will become more obvious in this story. We go to Canada, and we didn't know it was Halloween weekend. We just didn't think about it. So we go to Canada, and everyone's like in costumes, and we're like, oh shit, everyone's in costumes. Like, this is going to be. And we were doing like the classic, there's a Lil Dicky song about the classic male pregame. And it's exactly that. It's like everybody's in their white T-shirt and fucking.
I mean, it's like a period piece now.
Yeah.
Because in the early 2000s, that was the look.
Yeah. And well, it's also like we're going to wear button-up shirts over these T-shirts, but it's the only time any of us ever pick up an iron is like, we're going to go out and get pussy tonight.
That's what, okay, look, there's a lot of like memes about fashion in the early and mid 2000s.
Yes.
For guys, it was like the only period in time where we had to have button-ups and collars all the fucking time.
Yes.
Why did we do that? No one does it now. Now you go out to like a pretty nice place and you're wearing like a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But it was a weird time.
So Canada, there's not legal marijuana, but like legal-ish, much less criminalized at the time.
They turn a much blinder eye.
Yes, exactly. And we go through like some, we don't need to get into all the histrionics of the way we got the weed, but it was like, that was a process also. And then my buddy has, we have weed, we have absinthe, which was at the time illegal in the U.S. also.
Yeah.
All this stuff in the hotel room, I think maybe some other stuff. My friend, he's smoking weed and he starts to have like a panic attack. Derek does. And he goes to push on the window, like to open the window of the hotel. It opens like 3 inches because apparently people commit suicide on Granville Street in Vancouver.
So how high up were you guys? Like,
high.
Okay, so it's not like it's a second floor and
like 12 or 14 stories, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for a hotel.
Yeah, so he tries to open it. It's not opening all the way, and he's having a panic attack, so he pushes on it.
Oh, God.
And it shatters.
Oh, no.
Falls 14 floors. It cuts into his wrist. It hit an artery.
Jeez.
He squirts blood across the whole room, across our shirts. Every white tee is covered and has a spray of blood.
Now you guys have your costumes for the Halloween weekend.
So that's the thing. We have one friend, the guy that actually let me borrow the money on his birthday. He grabs him, like puts a tourniquet on his arm, and he's like, "You guys go downstairs." It's like we're fucking freaking out. We get in the elevator, and then you just like you get in, and it's like Laura Croft. There's like a golfer, and we're not even in this isn't even registering for us at the moment. But they look at us and they go, "That blood looks so realistic." And we were like, "Oh shit, it is! It's real blood." And then we get down and so anyways, that hotel room was on my credit card. To this day,
God.
Derek Wakefield has never paid me for that.
How much did that bill cost? Do you have any recollection?
Yeah, it was like $380 extra, which actually seems pretty reasonable.
That does seem pretty reasonable.
This was also like 2005.
That's a lot still. I mean, $380 is still a lot.
At that time in my life, that was a debilitating amount of money.
That's an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
That's like a paycheck for whatever job you're doing. Yeah.
And he still never paid me. And he's like, a guy that's a scumbag once is rarely that's the last time he's a scumbag.
Where is this guy now?
I don't actually know.
Can we get him on the podcast?
I bet he has the same cell phone number, to be honest with you. Last I heard, we had other times. It wasn't like it was the last time I hung out with him. I went to he had a birthday party for his grandpa like some years later, and his dad got strippers. And
wow.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It's the only time I've ever been somewhere with private strippers, like a private party with strippers.
Yeah.
And it's a different experience.
I've never been in that situation with the private strippers, but I've heard some stories from friends, and first of all, they're exactly the type of people you think would get the strippers.
Yeah.
And the strippers are exactly as bad as you think it would be, too.
Well, I will say there was a lady there, and I'm 21 or something at the time, and she's 20 or something like that, and a very attractive woman. And we're like contemporaries age-wise.
Yeah.
And there were old dudes that were hitting on her hard, and I was just like talking to her, and at a moment I was like, I think this lady likes me, and I got her phone number.
Wow.
And
was it a real phone number?
It was a real phone number.
Wow.
But what I didn't imagine in that moment, I'm like, no, this lady absolutely likes me, and
She must be good at her job.
I'm gonna turn her around. Her life's gonna be better. Immediately, her life fell into quote unquote crisis, and she's like basically asking me for money to solve problems in her life, and I'm like, oh, I don't make I'm 21 years old, lady. Like I can't fix your fucking radiator on your car.
Maybe she thought you were handy.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
Like this man might not have money, but he could be good with cars. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I have a more masculine look than I can back up, you know? I can't do shit with cars. I look like if you gave me a thin cigar and a fucking a light on my head, you know, like one of those headlamps.
Yeah.
I could probably, you know, make your car run that hasn't run in years. I can't do that.
Yeah, you look like you fix obscure things like musical instruments or bicycles, perhaps.
Yeah, I've had the same toaster since 1983 because I won't let it die.
Yeah, not cars though. The car guys are always like they definitely failed high school. First of all,
There could be. We could have dozens of mechanics listening, and if you are listening, I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
Alex's opinions do not represent.
Feel free to send in your high school transcript so we can be proven wrong,
or send in a quote because I need my check engine lights on. So
you should get that checked out.
Oh yeah, you're the one to tell me it's been on the fucking dashboard. Come on, Alex. Okay, I want to talk about. We've been getting thousands of emails. Thousands. Saying you don't talk about combat sports. Combat sports are real sports, and you guys ignore them as though they don't exist. You have to talk about combat sports, Alex and Casey. Okay. And listen, we're at a point with combat sports where there's huge fights every weekend.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Every weekend there are enormous fights.
Before we jump into the subject, because I know where you're going, are you a guy that watches UFC? Or watches boxing?
Listen, Alex. We're gonna do some analysis that's gonna let you know the answer to that question. Okay, we are gonna start today. We're gonna cover. Listen, I can't promise it's gonna be on every episode, but combat sports will make an occasional appearance. If something this monumental happens in combat sports, we will not ignore it, is what I'm saying.
It's a big story. It's a big one.
It's a huge one.
You sent me the video. You made me watch it.
Well, and not only that, you didn't realize that what I sent you was the live stream, but what we now have is an in-ring angle of the fight.
Oh, wow.
You will be watching this for the first time. I can't stop watching it because it's such a monumental combat sports moment.
Wait, first of all, I had no idea the geography of where this fight was taking place. Now, the biggest ones all take place in Vegas or...
You would think...
Or I don't know where else. Vegas again.
Yeah.
This one probably was not.
This was not in Vegas. But believe it or not, the center of combat sports, the most monumental event happening in combat sports this weekend was in Gig Harbor, Washington.
Oh, it's Gig Harbor. That explains a lot. I would have thought maybe Silverdale more than Gig Harbor. But.
It definitely fits Silverdale a little better. Okay, so I'll pause it real quick. We're going to watch the whole fight. I'm friends with both these guys. These are so obviously we're joking. These are two comedians that fought this weekend. Shad Foster and Roger Lazola. Roger's for a longtime headliner. For some reason in the pandemic, he grew a mullet and a handlebar mustache. He didn't always used to look like that.
He looks like a real fighter now.
He looks like he fought 12 years ago.
He looks like the guy that if he was a Street Fighter character, no one would pick him.
Yeah. And I want to make this clear before we start. Either of these dudes, with the very little training that they have, and you're going to see how little training they have, could beat the shit out of me. I'm not getting into this ring. I actually found out that a friend of mine was coaching Roger, and he's considering fighting. I'm not saying everybody on these videos we're going to watch could beat the fuck out of me, okay?
I would not have known. I mean, clearly they had limited training, but they were technique-wise. I've watched a lot of boxing in my day.
Sure.
They had pretty good technique.
One of them did. I would say Roger is if this fight was gonna end in a knockout, Roger's a much stronger person. If it doesn't end in a knockout, Shad, I suspect has better cardio.
The measurements.
Yeah.
I don't think there are too many promoters out there that would stack these two against each other.
I don't know if this is exactly a sanctioned fight. This is Street Beef's Scrapyard I don't know where this is. Undisclosed location in Olympia or in Gig Harbor, Washington.
Okay, well, first of all, can you because you sent me the video with zero context.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was comedian.
Basically, we were going to watch it on. I just wanted you to see it.
Yeah. It's good that you gave me no context because now I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Number one, why?
Oh, so this is kind of a cool story, actually.
Okay.
They did a show later that night, and this is I don't know how the show actually went, but my understanding was whoever won the fight headlined, and whoever lost opened.
Now, what if one of them had just gotten absolutely pummeled?
Yeah, that certainly is a problem.
How would they have done that show?
Well, what we're going to find out is that's not... We'll watch another fight after this because there was another fight, and they have this angle you're going to see on here, and we'll talk about that one too. But this is... So Shad Foster... I'm going to start playing it now. Shad Foster, Roger Lazola. Shad's 26 years old, 6'2", 146 pounds. Roger's 44 years old, 5'6", 218 pounds.
Roger Lazola fighting out of Beerman, Washington, by way of Gilroy, California, the garlic capital of the world.
He just moved back to Washington State.
Champion Robert.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh, there we go.
We're gonna win the belt today. And
6'2", 146,
Shad Foster
5'6",
fighting out of
218.
Tacoma, Washington, home of a bunch of gangbangers like Roger, and I'm still gonna beat his ass.
Okay, the thing about Shad Foster, and he doesn't look as crazy. He wears glasses normally.
Yeah.
Shad Foster looks like a guy who grew up at either an all-black school or is a white supremacist. Those are the two options.
Yeah, he's either end of the spectrum. But the way he talks is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, well, and then when he calls Roger a gangbanger, you're like, dude, what the like, relax. Fuck, he's a comedian. He's like, Roger goes and works on like long...
Okay, this dude's Shad. He said he's from Tacoma. Right?
Yeah.
Now, there's two different Tacomas. There's the Tacoma where I live and your kids go to Stadium High School.
Sure.
And then there's the Tacoma that most people know. I need to know which part of Tacoma he's from.
I believe he's from the other part. He's from the other side of the tracks from where you live, yes.
I wouldn't expect that.
I think if you saw him not in this attire, it would be a little more obvious. He's got some stank on him, Shad does.
What's up, everybody? Fire Chicken here for a
Fire
special
Chicken's a
match.
good name, by the way. I don't know anything about these
Comedian
guys.
versus comedian in a boxing match. Shout out to the sponsors. Kishoto Premium Clothing Brand, HK USA. Check them out. Links in the description. Also, check out Remedy
Okay, we're
Speakeasy
doing
in Bremerton,
Remedy
Washington.
Speakeasy is where they had the show, by the way. They do comedy shows there all the time.
Okay.
Okay, boxing match. Went over the rules before the fight. You got any
What the fuck?
questions? You got any questions?
This stream is too high quality.
Yeah, but this is a way better view than the other one, right? Like,
Yeah, the live stream view is just like a drone above them, and then you can't hear a whole lot.
yeah, this is like a GoPro guy walking around the ring.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if you just go and watch the entire thing,
What the fuck?
if you go watch the entire thing, the ending, no one's gonna get killed here.
Yeah.
So the ending for me, it was a little anticlimactic. I was expecting someone to get their ass knocked out.
So Shad's actually been like in a gym training, and Roger's been, I think, trying to like hope that his like. I'm trying to get it in better quality for us.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, 6'2", 146 is a very, if you can't see him, I mean, just picture 6'2", 146. That's a lanky, lean,
Yeah.
muscular guy with some reach. Against the dude who's 5'6", it wouldn't matter if Roger was in the best shape of anybody's life at 5'6". He's at an extreme disadvantage.
This reminds me of the worst version of when David Tua fought Lennox Lewis. the white and Hispanic version of that in Gig Harbor, Washington. So I think what you see early, and this is like true of any fighting sport, is these dudes are fucking tired quickly.
I don't think most people realize how much cardio you have to do to be a boxer. Just walking around defending yourself for a couple punches is one thing, but for like multiple minutes at a time, that's really hard to do.
And so Shad, long left arm, just basically controlling Roger with the jab. That's my analysis.
He's keeping him at bay with it. Oh, there we go. That was a nice little shot from Roger.
Nice.
So
Roger looks like a guy who is in the middle of a terrible shift at work and just wants to leave at this moment.
okay, here's what I'd say. I think if these guys fought a street fight where there's not rules, not boxing gloves, I got Roger every fucking time.
Yeah, no, I agree. If he could take him down to the ground, Roger's winning this thing.
Yeah. So So it's the end of the round. This is like actually legal, they say. I didn't check the legality of it. But so this, I don't know who this dude is talking to Shad here, but it tells me that Shad's not a white supremacist. He's also holding Shad's glasses, if you see. I don't know what you do. Do you fight with... Oh, this is Greg Beechler. This is my buddy that's training him.
Okay. Does he actually box?
He was a mixed martial arts fighter. His kids are...
He's legit.
His stepson is like a legit, very good fighter.
Okay.
And so then we get into round 2, and we can kind of skip forward in this because, like you said, we end here on, it's just like a shot to the face. Roger's tired. He can't fucking get inside and just calls the fight. He doesn't get knocked out. Shad takes the win. Now, I'd like to show you the next fight.
Okay. I didn't stick around for the next fight, but I heard it was good.
Yeah. So when you saw it in real time, I was like, oh, hold on. I think I'm going to make sure my daughter's not crying right now. Hold on.
That's probably a good idea.
Let's see here. We might have to pause the...
We can do that.
Hey, what's wrong, baby? Okay, you can tell me something. Can you please turn off your light? Father of the Year, podcasting while my daughter's
It's really amazing that you have like a two-way here.
What, baby? All right, baby. I'm going to be there in a couple minutes, okay? Just a couple, and then I'll come in. All right, Father of the Year. I'm going to, we'll watch this fight, and then I'll go. I got to go tend to some poopy, apparently. Okay, so this is the fight that took place after that. So I was watching this going like, is this like any legit? These dudes, Spartan and High Speed, they all have like these crazy names. They're all the craziest. Like
they're from, well, one guy lists his hometown as just Washington.
Yes.
So that's interesting. And then the other guy's from Lakewood. So.
Yeah, 5-1 record. So he's fought 6 times with these guys. He has a reach advantage, despite being the same height and lighter. So this is a relatively short
How's it going?
fight.
High speed. Back at it. Here to have fun, just like every other time.
The guy has confidence that I'd never have had. Both these guys never had confidence like these two dudes.
MMA fight. We went over the rules before.
Oh, this is MMA style.
Yeah,
These guys are big boys. They're both about 5'10", 225.
yeah. But you're going to see immediately a different quality of fight here.
Scrap.
This guy's fighting in pants and a long sleeve.
Yeah, and red hair and eyebrows.
If it's anything like basketball, if they show up in pants and a long sleeve, they're either really good or really bad.
All right, we gotta fix the quality. I think I know the problem with the quality, and we'll fix it in our brief hiatus. So there's like a strong kick there, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's dead.
He's done.
He killed it.
So in real time on the live stream, so this like seems pretty tidy. He's in the ring for like 15 minutes. They have a full-on medic there.
Oh my God, he was knocked out for that long.
He was knocked out. I mean, you can't like
I mean, clearly he's knocked out by the way he fell.
Yeah, and he's doing the
like a
arm
dead body.
thing. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go tend to some poopy. I'll be back. All right, parenting at full speed. It occurred. It continues to occur. I'm the best parent on fucking podcasts.
That's true. I don't think Joe Rogan could do this.
Joe Rogan could not. He'd need several ice baths after what I just experienced. I like to end the. It's very corny to say "don't let the bed bugs bite" as a dad, but this is what I've learned about my daughter: is if she's willing to say "don't let the bed bugs bite," she's going. That's her way of releasing me from the room. If she doesn't say important. That, I'm gonna get screamed at as I walk out the door.
You do need the towels to let you know it's okay to move on with your night.
She has no poker face. She has tells all over the place.
These kids, man, they got to work on that.
So we have a lot to talk about, and I've this kid has taken up enough of our time. I want to get into a thing that I've talked to you about, but I don't think you've investigated. And so I wanted to show you before we get into sports.
Yes.
When we did just talk about the fight of the century, and then we
Followed
looked at,
by the near death, apparently.
yeah, the near death of Spartan, one name Spartan on his birth certificate. I want to look at cart narcs. So this,
yes, yeah, cart narcs. I did not look into this, but I remember you bringing it up. These are
Looks like this guy's getting ready to
and
roll
okay,
into his
yeah, I'll give you.
SUV.
Yeah, it's Federal Way, Washington. You will recognize this.
I know the Safeway. Yes, this
So-
is on 320th.
Yeah, yes, it's the Safeway on 320th. The premise is people leave their carts out too much, and this guy just goes and calls them out. He doesn't work for stores. He goes all over the country.
Okay, so he's not from Washington.
No, he's from California. He lives in LA, but he does there's a couple in Washington, but then there's Atlanta. He did one in Romania.
See, this is funny because I hate people that leave their cart. I think they all have a justification for it. It's
Sure.
creating a job for somebody, even though that job is created already.
Yeah.
And the job is to get it from the cart corral if you were to take your cart there.
Yeah.
They always
You're gonna
have-
love this
they
guy.
Always, yeah, they always have a justification for it. This guy's a hero already. I don't even need to know anymore. But I would hope someone would tell him the areas of town not to do this in, because this Safeway in Federal Way is maybe right on the border of should I or shouldn't I confront people here.
I believe I've seen 2 times in the history of me watching this, and I think I've watched every single one, but if I've missed any, it's just a couple.
Yeah.
2 times he's had guns pulled on him on video.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of places around, in the Federal Way, Tacoma area,
Sure.
where you run the risk. And in general, I think at least around here, Safeways are kind of the also ran grocery store, right?
What does that mean? I don't know. What that
the
means.
second rate.
Gotcha,
Right.
okay,
You're gonna go to Fred Meyer first, definitely, if there's a Fred Meyer
Gotcha.
around, or QFC.
I'd put Fred Meyer, for me, Fred Meyer Safeway, same category. QFC a step above.
Yeah.
And then if it's one that's not we go to Metropolitan Market, Alex,
Yeah.
and that's
Okay, yeah,
that is.
yeah.
We
See, I
spend too
would
much
do
money.
all my confrontations at the Metropolitan Market type places or Trader Joe's.
Well, one thing you might.
No one there is going
There's
to
actually, by the way, we're not going to watch the whole thing because this one's already 10 minutes, so we're
Yeah.
going to cut into it. But there's a tremendous one. I would say there's 2 iconic episodes of Cart Narcs, and one is this one in Federal Way, and the other one is at a Trader Joe's in California.
Perfect.
And we don't have time to watch them both. Maybe another later episode will. Oh yeah, it's actually this guy that's on the screen right here. I'm a fat a-hole is the name of the video.
Yeah.
Is tremendous. But okay, we'll watch.
We have a cart return right here, as you can see, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he may have left his cart
So-
sitting fully blocking the spot next
Couple
to it.
things.
And
This is
he
a new
did,
vehicle. There's
for
no license plate on the
shame,
front, but there's
for-
still
that's
the
not even a
CarMax.
Oh, wow. This is the laziest cart leave
Yeah.
behind I've ever
He's got
seen.
one right there.
There's
Oh,
worse
wow.
on this, by the way.
All right. Getting the hood magnet. Let's see if I get. Slipped off. Oh, keep backups. Got it. Yes. Come on, sir. Sorry?
Take that shit off my cart.
Take your cart back to the cart corral.
What, are you policing?
I'm the cart narcs. That's what I do. Yes.
So he puts these magnets on
So what
cars,
that
but so
says
many
is I don't
cars
throw
are
a shopping
aluminum
cart like a
now
jerk,
that they
which
don't
I can
stick.
remove for you. Absolutely.
Like,
Littering.
this man looks like
That's
he
not
would
nice.
leave his cart behind. There's
Yes.
no easy way
That's
to
what I
say
keep
it.
sir.
Yes, I agree.
The
I'm trying to
exercise
be
involved with putting the cart away
Where'd
seems
that
like
go,
it would
man?
be an
Toss that sucker.
inconvenience to him.
Yeah.
Quite far.
He's also
I may say.
you
Too lazy
expect
to get back out. Gave me a kiss and a little blow off.
this. If I
Very
don't want
sassy,
to
I tell you.
generalize this man, but he's like a
Where did that
large.
go? Hold on one moment.
I would guess
Come back for that. Let's see if he does the
gay nurse
Yep, the driveway.
is my guess.
Well, he's definitely wearing some
God,
sort
you
of
put it- you put it in reverse and
scrub
stepped
type
out the
outfit up top.
He's wearing scrubs.
Yeah.
He's got a effeminate thing going.
Sir, all this littering is not
And
nice.
in my
Got more
mind, that
for
guy
you.
is progressive and would never leave.
Keep your shit off my car. You're putting a magnet on my paint, and it can damage it. And you're scratching my paint.
Now, do you realize the iron?
Get it off
Would
of
you
my
stop
car.
talking over me?
Sassy man.
Do
He's
you
a very
realize the
sassy man.
irony that your cart? It's always these lazy bones. They try to shout you
Okay,
down.
so we'll get
Lazy bones.
we'll get a little further ahead. This guy
Again,
starts
the
driving
irony
away.
As you cart.
And so then at this point,
we
he's
had,
going to notice that the guy's
unfortunately,
getting out to take the
dozens
thing
and
off of
dozens
his
and dozens of
car.
reports of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of damage. All right. Shh. Stealth mode, Marketeers. How's it going? Oh, that's a cost right there. Got another one for you. Yes.
This man won't
Yeah,
stop.
we're kind of
He's
persistent.
very
That's why we're the
persistent.
card arcs. You'll grab that one. Sir, take your cart back.
Fuck you and remove it.
Take your cart back and I'll love you forever.
Motherfucker, get the shit off my car.
Why don't you, we're not talking about the cart. You're just calling me names.
Okay, listen.
What?
Whatever your name is, get that off of my vehicle.
I'm Agent
now.
Sebastian. Would you please take your cart back and I'll be happy
It's
to remove it for
unfortunate
you.
that this man has a
Why
name
not?
tag on.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate.
Why? And it's federal weight, so I'm like, I might know this dude. Or probably,
You're not
there's
addressing the
almost
singular point.
a certainty that I know someone who knows this guy.
That's my point.
But that means you don't
There's
give
6
an F about
degrees
other
of
people.
separation from
Yeah.
this dude, for sure.
Take it off.
Take your cart back. See, we both have now the same amount of
You
leverage.
need to take it off of my car.
You need to take your cart back.
Get your
So this man has
item
lit a
off of my
cigarette
vehicle.
also.
Get your
His,
cart
his health
into the
decisions
park,
are...
I appreciate
Sir,
his
do you understand
persistence
that
just
just
as
going
much as
back
the
and forth
cart
here,
nut
you know?
guy. He's like, I'm just not going to leave, which, like, he
Really
could
do
just
it.
leave.
Taking it off
Yeah.
He's chosen
times
not
now.
to.
Sir, would
He's
you
made
please
himself good
be a good
TV.
Samaritan,
Yeah.
a good citizen, and take your cart back? That's what they
He's
like
a
for you to
great
do.
villain.
That's why they have the
He
car
is.
turns so
He's
that you
like
don't block
playing the rule
spots and
perfectly. This is
block the-
everything you want.
Yeah.
Block the path of these cars. Would you mind at least moving out of the way of their cars?
You take it off my car.
I will as soon as you take your cart back.
I'm not moving.
Well, that's obstructing traffic for no reason.
I hope this is the part.
All right, well, if you want to chill out here, I can't recommend it, sir.
Take it off my car.
I'm going to go get the other one you threw, okay? Be right back. I don't want to get you littering. Where'd it go? He really chucked that last one.
I want to see this dude in the wild. Because I'm also, by the way, like, what's gratifying about this, it's the instant karma thing that I like about, like,
Black on black.
fights and
Yeah, I
stuff
am
like
cleaning
that.
wiping these
Yeah.
off by
Where
the way. How?
I hate
He told
when
me that a
people
couple
leave their
seconds
card
ago.
out. It's like a huge pet peeve of mine.
Oh, he's leaving.
He is one sassy lazy bones.
He's gone.
You'd think so, but there's
He's going to
8
stick
minutes
around.
left in the video.
I mean, he's
Or 4
driven
minutes.
far away. This guy is really like running to catch up with him.
Yes.
I don't understand why this guy pulled away, but he wanted to
go.
take it off his own car.
Yeah.
Is that what he's trying to
Tell
do?
me the last fucking time. Keep it off my car.
All right.
I'm about to call the police on you.
What are you going to say?
That you're fucking violating my car. What the fuck do you want me to say? Stay the fuck away from me.
Explain what violating your car
Stay the
means.
fuck away from me.
I will as soon as you.
So it's like we're on like magnet number 3 or 4, or magnet
Go
placement
back
number
and
3 or 4.
Go take your car back. Go. You're yelling over me, sir. That means you've lost the argument.
Because you're fucking irritating me. Go.
You know what irritates
This
me?
guy is pretty annoying. I gotta
Loose
say,
cars
like
is what irritates me.
the villain here has a
Polite and
point.
calm and you're being an angry
There are-
boss.
Yeah, and you're really escalating it, and you're gonna get yourself.
So there's
Hurt
times
how?
where you certainly
I'm not gonna get hurt. I'm a nice
identify
guy.
with the...
I can see both
All right, I will, as
sides.
soon as you take your
We've
card back.
humanized.
Oh, and there's a
the-
really funny part.
Get your cart back,
Get
please.
the fuck away from me.
When did you learn these negotiation tactics, sir?
Go.
Is that the Hitler salute? I hope not. Do you don't have to lose it? You can just be nice and
Okay.
take your cart back. Here, I gotta.
So we'll move a little forward.
Do you understand the whole principle here?
Nicely to get the fuck away from me.
What did I do
I've
nicely?
asked you more than once nicely to get the fuck away from me.
I think
Get
when you add the F word, that's not nice.
away from me.
This
How
guy's
many
really
times do you
moving
nicely
now.
to take your cart back, though. Do you see it's the exact same principle? And I think I'm out nicing you, sir. When we talk about niceness, I'm winning.
You need to go.
Not that it's a
You
competition.
need to go.
Sir,
You need
you
to
need
get
to
away
take
from
your
my
cart back.
values, my property.
Your values?
You need to stop putting your shit on my.
My values are taking carts back.
Good, then go fucking take it back, bitch.
See, that's the whole problem, sir. Is you're not going to have me with you at every turn to take your carts back and wipe your butt for you and do all the things that you should be doing for yourself.
Listen, get
What?
away from me.
I will.
There's a little...
I'm good.
Get away from my vehicle right now.
What's wrong with your vehicle?
You're really working my last nerve, and you're pushing it to the fucking.
I don't
edge.
want to do that.
Get the fuck away from me.
Imagine
Get the fuck
how better your nerves would feel if you just took your cart back.
This
You'd be
guy gets like on the brink of
so
violence
calm and relaxed.
and then stops.
Yeah.
He pulls it back. He's good. He's good.
Uh-oh.
It almost
What's
feels
going
like
on?
it wouldn't be real. Now
So
he thinks he might be
here.
pulling a gun
Yes,
on him.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, he's got a cigarette. Okay.
Another cigarette.
Thought you were
He's
reaching for
pulled-
something.
He's
Besides-
pulled another cigarette.
Those are croissants. They're just delicious, not deadly. Will you take your cart back, sir? Or you can just take your cart back, and this would all be over. But, sir, do you do this when your mom asked you to clean up your room? Did you say, get the F away from me? Or did you do what you were asked of nicely? Did you lock your door? I think you did lock
Oh, God. He locked himself out of the car. This guy should have just left
Again,
many minutes ago.
Yeah, so we can. I think we've reached the climax, and my favorite thing about this though is absolutely this dude, the guy Agent Sebastian. That's the guy who does it all the time. Yeah. Obviously, there's a point where you're like, he should have moved on.
Yeah.
But he's not a cart return guy. This is what he's here for, is to create content like this, and it's like
it's pretty good content.
Yeah, it's like the perfect. Like fuck you to people who don't return their carts.
Yeah, we all agree that this was particularly egregious. I mean, usually when people don't return their carts, it's like they'll do the thing where they stick it between like the two fronts of two cars parked, right?
Sure.
Like that's a pretty common place to leave it. This guy left his cart in an entirely empty parking space, pretty good parking space too, right next to his car. So now no one can park there, and this thing is apt to run away.
Yes, so that's he talks a lot about this, about how the he was trying to get to it, and the guy just kept telling him to fuck off. But like, he's mad about the magnet, but his cart could go hit someone else's car, etc., etc.
I feel like leaving your cart out is like it's the lowest common denominator to be able to tell if you are a good person or not. Like if you are inherently a good person. Now everybody's threshold for what a good person is changes, right? There are some people who think I didn't kill anybody, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who are like, in order to be a good person, you got to put your cart back.
Right.
There's a vast void there. But if you just can't put your cart back, you might not be a good person, no matter what you're doing in the world.
I think it's a tell, as we said.
Yes, it is a tell.
My daughter, we went to Costco the other day, and I was putting groceries in, and I said loudly, not on purpose, but it turns out to be prophetic. I go, we have to put the cart back because you always have to put your cart back. No matter what, you have to put your cart back. So I put her in, I fill the car with groceries, and then we take the cart back to the thing. And we come back, and the man next to us is putting his cart on the curb. And she goes, why did he not put his cart away? And I go, this is why we do it, because other people don't do it. And she goes, I don't like him, and I never want to see him again. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then we're driving back from Costco, and we go under an underpass, and there's like a homeless encampment.
Oh, yes.
And she sees...
I've heard this story.
Yeah.
And it's a good story.
And she sees a bunch of people with carts, tents, all that stuff, and she goes, they are bad shoppers or something like that.
They all left their carts.
Yeah, those are the worst shoppers. That made me laugh so hard. Okay, so we can get into some sports, I suppose. I guess we can. I've been wanting to talk about cart narcs with you for a while.
It's good. It's good. It's good. I'm glad we're on the same page about the carts. I know people who are not, and I mean,
there's no excuse.
Look inside yourself.
Look inside yourself.
Become a better person. You can't change the past, but you can change tomorrow.
You could change that moment when you're going to leave your cart out. Yeah, and the Agent Sebastian of the cart narcs talks a lot about it. Like people will say, "Oh, that's that person's job." It is, but it's like you don't rub your shit on the wall of a bathroom because it's somebody's job to clean the bathroom, right?
It's like if everyone puts their cart in the cart corral, that person's job still exists.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going away because everything's put back where it's supposed to.
Right. Now his job just takes a lot longer, or it becomes more dangerous because he has to cross through all this traffic and all that.
Right. It's the job justification is the weirdest one. The real issue is that your cart is prone to rolling into someone else's car, fucking up their car, or fucking up traffic, or something really annoying. That's the real issue. You just don't want to admit that.
Yes. It's straight up laziness.
That's all it is. It is. And look at us. We're two lazy motherfuckers.
I'm principled though. That's what it is. It's just having principles. I'm fucking fat and I sit and watch TV, but I put my cart back because I don't want to be an asshole to other people. All of this affects me and my wife when she has to see me naked, okay? And probably my daughter.
You sacrificed going to the gym to put your cart back.
That's right. I could have been working out for years, and instead I've been taking my cart back to the corral. I want to blast through a couple of these topics because I don't really give a shit about them anymore. Aaron Rodgers wants to play for the Jets. He came out of a fucking darkness retreat, and
he wants to enter another darkness retreat by going to play for the Jets, apparently. Good for him. If that's really what you want to do. The Jets, it seems like there's no negotiation here. There's only one team that wants him.
He's pulling a Griffey.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one team that wants him, and like I don't even think the Packers really want him anymore. He's become more trouble than he's worth.
Yeah.
If he was 25 years old, everybody would want him, but he's older now. He's definitely lost a step, and then on top of that, he's become more of a headache off the field.
He did have a very good year last year.
He did.
And a very good year the year before that. I didn't realize that he had won 4 straight MVPs.
Yeah,
at a point.
He's had some prolific seasons. Like
Yeah.
Even though he hasn't won a ton of championships or anything like that, he's very prolific. And he's efficient. I mean, he's still a really good passer. He can still for the Jets. It's like a perfect fit. It's like it's low risk for the most part because he's older. You're not giving him like a otherworldly contract, and he might be the guy that helps get you to the playoffs and gets you over the hump of this stigma that's kind of followed the Jets around for so long now.
He's also, it is very funny because by going to the Jets, it's just, he's like literally stepping into the vacated footsteps of Brett Favre. He's doing everything. Yeah, and by the way, playbook, Kirk Cousins is a free agent at the end of the year.
So he can go be a Viking now.
He can go be a Viking for a couple years.
Somewhere in the middle, he sends pictures of his penis to people who don't want to
whoever
see
the new Jen Sturger is.
God, Jen Sturger. I forgot her name until we just started talking about
I
this.
care about women, Alex, but you tend to not. So, another one, Scotty Scheffler. Everyone made a big deal about this fucking menu of his. I'll pull it up on the screen real quick because I want to read it, but I actually found myself caring less and less about this. So this is because he won the Masters last year, he gets to pick the menu.
Yeah.
And it's cheeseburger sliders, firecracker shrimp, tortilla soup, Texas ribeye or blackened redfish, and then a skillet chocolate chip cookie. This is like, I feel like this belongs at a dog shit like this belongs at a place where one of Tiger Woods' sexual rendezvous would have occurred.
It's like an elevated Applebee's menu. Is really what it is.
Yes.
Like you get 3 for $19.99.
If they are giving out fucking rum buckets at this thing, it's over. Are you a caffeine guy, by the way? Do you drink caffeine?
I don't drink coffee, but I drink like diet soda is my source of caffeine. Back in the day I used to drink energy drinks, and then I had some heart issues.
Did you?
At a young age, yeah.
Like what were
I have an
issues?
enlarged heart, as it turns out. I love too much.
Oh, wow.
No, I actually do have an enlarged heart, but it was... Well,
and you discovered this from energy drink consumption?
No, I just kind of was like, it's probably not a good idea to keep pounding that much caffeine when I have these pre-existing issues, and now they've flared up. So
they didn't cause or exacerbate them. That was the part of the decision.
It was just one of the decisions I made, and probably a good one. So my only source of caffeine typically is like a Diet Coke.
Scotty Scheffler said that he drinks coffee at home but does not drink coffee during tournament weekends, which I found interesting. I imagine it's like
that seems like it would be hard to turn on and off. You know, as somebody who drinks I do have like a soda every day, like diet soda every day.
Oh, really?
So like I
in the morning?
No, just like at different times a day. I mean, sometimes, yes, in the morning. But because it's my only source of caffeine, it's like when you have caffeine going, to just shut it down all at once, that can be tough to do.
Yeah. So apparently what he says is it gives him like playing in a competition gives him adrenaline and he doesn't need coffee, which by the way, like I am, before, you may not know this, folks, but when I go on stage, I usually have consumed a caffeinated beverage very close to going on stage. And sometimes to my detriment after the show, because I'm usually like pretty keyed up from performing.
Yeah.
And then also I have the caffeine to like keep me up there.
Yeah, they say you're not supposed to drink caffeine after about 3:00 if you want to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, and so on comedy nights, I drink it at about 10 at night.
Yeah.
I'll drink a full Red Bull.
Dude, if I did that at that time, I would not sleep.
You would think so,
I would not sleep.
Oh my God, this is the problem with ESPN.com.
They just autoplay the videos for you.
And it's a fucking ad out of nowhere. Sometimes I'll be like, what the fuck? I'm like, is there a phantom on my computer? Fuck you, ESPN. And then John Morant got suspended for 8 games. I think he came back today, actually. Let's see. He probably did. Let's see what his... I thought he was going to come off the bench. I'm like done with the John Morant story. I think he
returns. He scores 17 off the bench. There it is.
There it is, right on the front
headline
page
of ESPN. Yeah, at this point, it's like, I don't know. You didn't resolve all your issues in like 2 weeks of counseling or whatever you were doing. So.
I did start watching some stuff that makes me a little more concerned about what his future is going to hold. But I still think in this incident, I don't know what rule he broke.
No, I would agree. He didn't break any rules.
Sure.
It's like we talked about a few weeks back. He, him or the team or whoever concocted his plan for redemption, kind of co-opted mental illness to, poo-poo what seemed to be like a young kid being stupid. And that then maybe there is something more serious there that we don't know about. But
if you dig in a little bit, the incident, or like the other incidents, are like the one where the kid is at his house is a thing. He did an interview with Jalen Rose that was like the most just fucking handed over questions. Like he gave, like they gave Jalen Rose the questions to ask.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to get a scoop or any fucking, it wasn't journalism. I would go so far as to say it wasn't even journalism. But he explained a couple of those incidents as like, I was trying to protect my mom. I was trying to protect my sister. And I have some respect for that.
Sure. If that's, I mean, we don't know if that's true or not, but
sure.
The situation that you're describing at his house where he pulled the gun on that kid who was playing basketball with him, that was really hard to know, like, who's really at fault there. It could have been.
Well, supposedly the kid hit him, etc.
Yeah, it sounded like that could have gone either way.
The one, did you hear about the one where he got in an altercation? His like crew got in an altercation with the like staff at the Indiana Pacers facility, or maybe with the staff, the Indiana Pacers staff at the Memphis facility. That makes a little more sense, actually.
Yeah.
I don't remember which direction. And then later, a like SUV drove by slowly. The staff says there was someone pointing a gun with the red dot, and that person was John Morant.
Wow.
And that to me is a level of menacing that
we're getting into Aaron Hernandez territory.
Yeah,
at that point.
That's scarier. And then I think like he's got, unfortunately, I think some like family history of his family has, and I don't want to indict the guy on his family's history, but you're like, fuck, it's like, it's so much harder to get rid of family than friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there should be like real concern just because he's such a young dude.
Yeah.
Like he's still got not just his career ahead of him, but his entire life ahead of him.
Yeah.
So you just hope that whatever it is and however they choose to handle it, that it works out for the best for him. But I mean, those types of situations can be really tough. If his off-court life is constantly consumed by people that are potentially going to lead him into trouble, or maybe he's the ringleader that's going to get these people into trouble.
He's certainly the financier, I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Like
he's
definitely the one. He's definitely the one with the financial backing. But I mean, I feel like we repeat this cycle every few years with athletes here and there. Like Aaron Hernandez is obviously like the poster child for how this sort of thing can get out of hand, because we put athletes on a pedestal and we let them get away with so many things. And only after the story unravels do you like see all the places that this could have been prevented, and nobody stepped up to prevent it. So hopefully what's happening now, I mean, it doesn't seem like a 2-week break from a basketball season, coming back and being, lauded just for coming back and scoring 17 points off the bench in your return is going to teach somebody at that age many lessons. But we could be wrong about that, I guess.
I know. I think the other thing you worry about, and this is kind of relates to the Aaron Rodgers thing also, is we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. And there's presumably, if this amount of information has gotten to the public, it's not crazy to imagine there's stuff that's being, spun or covered up by the league or by the team or by John Morant himself or his friends and family.
Yeah, it's really okay. It's unfair to say Aaron Hernandez's name in conjunction with John Morant. Like that's very unfair.
No, I mean obviously that's the nightmare though.
Right. That's the nightmare scenario that can occur. It's totally not fair to put what has happened with John Morant up to this point in any sort of context like that. But yeah, I mean it is. These are very difficult situations, and like what you just said, I mean, this happens a lot in sports where the team or the people who represent a certain player will do whatever they can to spin a story in a more positive light. And we're seeing a lot of negativity from this story, which,
Yeah.
and that's already been tailored to some degree by the people around John Morant.
Yeah.
So the reality of the story itself is probably anywhere from slightly to much worse,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Exactly.
because anytime you hear anything bad about a player, that's the final draft. The rough draft is usually a little rougher.
Yeah. Sorry, I got an alert that something was happening at my porch, and it was just a beach ball blowing across the camera. So these cameras don't work perfectly.
Well, the weather changes, and
That's
then
true.
these things happen.
That's true. Yeah, I basically agree with you, especially like to have nobody coming out in favor of John Morant, like saying like, why is he suspended to have an out like Gilbert Arenas, who by the way is the guy.
Yeah,
Who
if
can
anyone
talk
knows
about
about guns in the NBA, it's
Yeah,
Gilbert Arenas.
and I watched a little bit. I mean, it was too boring to put on here, but I watched a little bit of what he had to say. And yeah, like Gilbert Arenas, man, was like on the verge of a Hall of Fame career, and now we know him as that.
The guy who pulled a gun in the locker room.
Yeah, on
over at
Javaris
Cardiff.
Crittenton.
Yeah, over.
Who,
at
by the way,
Cardiff.
was like a guy that I have occasionally these guys that I will. When did Javaris Crittenton get drafted? I think he's like a 15th pick, is my guess. Which in the NBA is not a surefire
No,
contributor.
you got to be lottery to be
Yeah.
surefire.
He was 19th pick, and he was the guy that I was like a 6'5" point guard that could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Out of what was he out of Georgia Tech? Is that right? Yeah,
Georgia Tech. What happened to Javaris? Click on what happened to Javaris Crittenton.
Well, he was involved in.
He went to? Didn't he get into some trouble after playing too?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Beyond the Gilbert Arenas stuff.
Because so the story is him and Gilbert Arenas got in an argument over. Oh shit! He got charged with murder in 2011.
So it didn't get better. Yeah.
God damn! And
so he was
he's
convicted of voluntary
fuck.
manslaughter. So he's 23 years in prison. He's not going to be released until 2036.
Yeah, so this is like what we're talking
great.
about. This
Not great.
is the nightmare, right? So he gets caught for that in 2011. The shit with Arenas happens in 2009. So like that's like that was a serious situation.
Yeah.
And it's why I believe this is why the rule is no guns in the team facilities, like because of this.
Yeah, I mean this was a big issue when it happened back
Yeah.
in 2009. Everyone knew about this story at the time, and
Yeah.
it's I mean, it seems like everything they do to try to prevent these things are like it's very minimal window dressing. Like
Sure.
Memphis is now. Did you see the story about they're not going to stay overnight in the cities in which they play on the road? They're going to
No.
bail that night. So they play a game. The game gets done at 10 o'clock or whatever.
Oh,
they are
God.
getting on the plane that night. They are not staying overnight because they don't want this strip club incident to happen again, right? So they're
Oh,
not
my
gonna-
God.
and think about how brutal that is on the play. You know, it's always anytime you're on a team, it's one guy gets you in trouble and everyone pays.
Sure.
Right? This is like an extreme example of that because now you're talking about. I'm sure there were guys that did what John Morant did, and they went to the strip club after a game and stayed there until sunrise. But there are probably other guys on the team that just got a meal and went to bed,
Yeah.
and now they're sleeping on a plane.
Right.
That sucks. No one's going to want to go play for. I don't think it'll probably persist past this year because it will hurt them with free agents, right? Like,
Right.
who would want to go play in that situation willingly? So I think it'll probably be short-lived, but it's just such an overreaction to.
But it's also like to call it window dressing, I think is correct. It's like when you're like if you were like, well, I'm going to cut out cereal. I'm going to lose weight because I'm going to cut out cereal. And you're like, I eat like 3 bowls of cereal a month. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like when you want to. Yeah, it's when you want to take the shortcut to doing whatever to improve your life, and you cut out.
You want to
the
solve a major problem with a minor
solution
adjustment.
Yeah, minor solution. That's exactly what that is. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess it theoretically what they're doing by bailing that night after a game will work, but everyone's going to be pissed about it.
But they're not just going to fucking circle the plane around the airport until the next game. Like, he's going to be in a city that's got a strip club, whether that's Memphis.
now he's doing morning strip clubs.
Yeah. Well, but I mean,
sleep
like,
on the plane. I get to the next city. I go see the junior varsity at the strip club.
but I guess, like, that's the thing. Like, they land in Memphis or they land in fucking Houston or whatever. Like, are they going to fly now back to Memphis and then back to the place? I don't know what NBA travel schedules are like if they're doing back home all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. That's because they're not. A lot of times they're not playing back to backs.
Right.
So you would have a gap on the road. So yeah, what do you do in those situations?
Right.
They
Yeah,
they just fly to Utah.
So now he just has a
Safest
day
place-
off in Houston?
Safest place they can go. Our home base now is Utah. We go there between each game.
That's the
No trouble will occur.
it's the safe house. is the Mormon village of Utah. All right, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just am like, the thing that I worry about is it's going to be it being a potentially sad thing. But right now, I look at the dude and I'm like, he didn't break any fucking rules, so it sucks.
Technically, no.
Well, what he's being punished for publicly is not breaking the rules. Of course, there's again, like you said, like we've been talking about, there's potential for something fucking horrible to be behind all this. But
And with athletes like this, if it goes horribly, it doesn't stop until that happens. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be a group of people giving a superstar athlete the benefit of the doubt.
And
That's
athletes
just how
are beings of inertia too, where it's like you don't get to be the greatest athlete in your fucking home city by not trying hard to get really good at that thing and dedicating yourself to that thing. And we've seen a lot of guys who like post sports or outside of sports that get competitive with like gambling and fucking.
Oh, I mean, I think that, when people talk sports that have never played in any capacity, the one thing that I think a lot of times they miss about the humanization of especially pro athletes is how intense of a person you have to be to get to that level of your profession.
Yeah.
You have to be incredibly intense and dedicated. Even the laziest athlete at the pro level is a much more intense person than any of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that intensity doesn't just stop when you stop playing a game.
That's why Kyrie Irving can put on 80 pounds of old man makeup and fucking still whoop your ass on a basketball
And that's why
court,
he's so passionate about the earth not being round.
Yeah, of course, because he dresses up like a guy who was from before the earth was round. Okay, so the World Baseball Classic happened. You poo-pooed it. You hate it. But you wanted to say something about it.
I don't hate it. I was really kind of surprised over the past couple weeks how it became such a divisive issue.
Sure.
On social media, among sports fans. It became like it's like baseball fans became like soccer fans overnight, right? Like you had to be in one of two camps. You either hated the World Baseball Classic and the other side villainized you for it,
right?
Or you were so pro World Baseball Classic that you would not shut up about it for 2 weeks. And I think most of us probably live somewhere in the middle. Like I watched the games when they are on, but I wasn't out there like tooting my horn about it.
Yeah, I felt so. First off, this is embarrassing. I didn't watch a single game. I wanted to watch the championship, but I had a dentist appointment at the beginning of it, and then I forgot that it was on. And then I get the fucking the notification that Shohei Ohtani strikes out Mike Trout
to end the game,
which is the perfect storybook ending.
Yeah, it's what you want to see. I mean, it's as close to like, a heavyweight fight that you could get in baseball.
Do we want to watch it? Do you want to watch it? We can talk about it.
We don't have to.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
If you want to, we can. I kind of watched it from afar. I was at the hockey game, so I could see it on a TV in one of the suites, and we were all kind of like focused on it. So I didn't hear it as it was going on, but you could kind of see what was happening.
So 6 straight fastballs from Ohtani, a bunch of them over 100 miles an hour.
That's the one thing in baseball I think that is still like there's some nobility to it. Like if you are, it's like Rick Vaughn in Major League, right? Like I'm just going to throw my heater at this guy. He knows it's coming. I know it's coming. Everybody in the stadium knows it's coming. We're just going to see if he can hit it.
Yeah.
It's a ballsy move.
And also he's the best player in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's like not officially the best, but over the past 10 years, he's been easily the best player in baseball. They're teammates. He throws 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. The 2 that he swung and missed on, I think were basically down the middle of the plate. I watched it on my phone.
Yeah, I saw Trout's first 2 at-bats in that game, and he struck out, I think, both times.
Oh,
okay. They weren't great at bats, so I don't know. Maybe he was just having an off night or something.
But Ohtani,
also you can't take anything away from Ohtani in that situation. He was
on
amazing.
3-2 throws a slider.
Yeah.
And by the way, 3-2, 2 outs, nobody on base throws a slider, so you walk him, whatever. But still, a 3-2 slider is like, what a fucking brilliant pitch.
Ballsy, yeah.
Ballsy.
It always takes guts to throw anything other than a fastball in a 3-2 situation. But when you're facing arguably the best hitter in baseball, I mean, you got to do those sorts of things.
And I kept seeing how like they were breaking records. Where there's more attendance, there's more whatever, and it's like, yeah, I mean, but a bunch of it's in the U.S., so the fucking stadiums are bigger.
It matters more to the other countries. It feels like
Absolutely.
For sure. The attendance in those countries when they had games in Japan, I mean, they were sold out, and I'm sure everybody was watching at home that wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the TV numbers in other countries were very good. In America, it's still kind of one of those things that it's like we still look at baseball through the lens of Major League Baseball first and foremost. And I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I think even if you really like the World Baseball Classic, you're still going to be more concerned about your Major League Baseball team, assuming you have one in your city, than you will be about the United States baseball team.
Yeah, I think you'd be like more angry that if Mike Trout got injured, you'd be more angry about that than you'd feel some swell of pride that the United States won.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the point I really just wanted to make about this, it just seemed like it was such a divisive 2 weeks among baseball fans.
Sure.
It's like, here we are, we're talking about that one at bat as, big fans of baseball. But the people that were so pro World Baseball Classic for the past 2 weeks we would not measure up to their standards. That's kind of how it felt like. It really felt like the type of gatekeeping that you see with a lot of soccer fans.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's rare for baseball. Maybe that's a good thing. In some ways, maybe it means that the people that have always carried the torch for baseball are more passionate than ever about the game. And maybe that's a good sign for the game.
Yeah. I think it's not to bring it political for the first time. We hadn't gotten there at all this episode, but we're a day away from your president being arrested potentially. So it's, I don't know how you're holding it together, but
yeah, there's going to be somebody who listens to this that has no idea about me, and they're like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, wow. That Walmart Burt Kreischer. So there's a thing about that I think I've noticed. I had a joke where I said that I think that we've replaced, it's like, this is also a controversial thing. In my opinion, we've replaced racism with sports fandom in this country a lot. We used to be like, I don't like that guy because of the color of his skin. And now we're like, I don't like that guy because of the color of his jersey. But we you say these horrible things about people, like, fuck 49ers fans. It's like the same, people bring the same vitriol of hatred towards those people. And by the way.
And I will say, I get the point you're trying to make. Obviously, racism is still a very big issue. We're not trying to minimize that. But the veiled undertones of whatever you feel about certain groups of people makes its way into your commentary about other teams' sports fans, right?
Yeah, but I also like the blatant, it's really rare to see outward angry blatant racism in the real world.
Yeah, it's often more subtle.
And that didn't used to be the case. And by the way, there's a bunch of fucking angry white folks at this right now talking white people want to meet oh man, I'm a white liberal, okay, but white liberals want this to be
clarify.
They want this to be the 1960s and fucking Selma so fucking bad, and we're so much better than we were back then. There's still a lot of problems to solve, don't get me wrong, but
there's more exposure to the problems we have now than we ever had in the past, because of the internet.
But my point is that shit, the fucking Jerry Jones protesting integration at a school now is you at a hockey game drinking fucking half-price beers, screaming that Portland sucks or whatever.
I've always seen myself in that light.
Yeah, you're the new Jerry Jones of racism. But my point is that I'm also an atheist, but I feel like a thing that's happened is as we become more atheist as a country, I'm atheist because I don't like missionaries and I don't like proselytizing, and I don't believe in all the shit too. But the thing that turns me off of religion is the missionary aspect, and the thing that we do where it's
pushing your values onto other people, whether they want to hear them or not.
Exactly, and I'm at a point in my life where we talked about this on the last episode, but I got a fucking literal picket fence. I have 2 kids, a dog, a cat, a wife. A fucking, we have a mortgage and a picket fence.
Yeah.
I'm living a Christian lifestyle, okay?
You're like when Green Day sold out.
Yes, exactly. But
no longer punk.
That's right. I'm no longer atheist. I'm Christian, whatever, culturally. I actually do say that sometimes, that I'm culturally Christian, because we celebrate Christmas and stuff. We're not fucking animals.
It's like convenient Christianity.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
most of America, if we're being honest.
I found out Easter was about Jesus 7 years ago.
Okay. It's not about a rabbit.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's about the resurrection? That's crazy.
I thought the rabbit was resurrected.
But we've replaced all of that with this moral like panic over whether or not you're a big enough World Baseball Classic fan or
you brought it back to where I
I was trying to.
We took the scenic route, but we got there.
We did call you the Jerry Jones of racism, modern Jerry Jones of racism. I feel good about that.
The one minority on this 2-person podcast.
Yeah, the one half of a minority on this 2-person podcast. It is a little dicey to start dividing out your minority status, but I'm willing to do it.
As a half Asian person, I will say the one thing that really bothers me about people who are half like me, whether half of whatever, it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. There are always those people that will occasionally play the victim and say, I'm not accepted by either side. And it's like, okay, I mean, you could also spin that in the other direction like I do and say, I can, like last night during the championship, it's Japan versus the U.S. I win either way. I win either way.
I was wondering if you felt...
Yeah, you can spin it in the other direction too. I can be accepted by both sides.
Well, thank you for saying that horribly regressive thing so I didn't have to. Yeah, but anyway, I think we do that with soccer too. Like soccer for sure, they do that.
Yeah,
that stuff. And it's also like politics, by the way, or like the new religion. You can't even talk about shit. Like you can't. I mean, jokes have become some sort of doctrine now. It's no longer funny. It's just like, and in the same way, like I just want to like occasionally have conversations about stuff.
Yeah,
and like when it's the World Baseball Classic. My like patriotism comes into fucking question. Also, I absolutely would rather have Drew Smiley. I'd rather he pitched for the Mariners than fucking Team USA.
I mean, that's if you're like a hardcore Mariners fan, you'll never forget.
Or if you're a fucking Mets fan,
you're upset about Edwin Diaz.
Edwin Diaz. We'll play this real quick because it's just looks so fucking innocuous.
Yeah, he gets injured celebrating. I mean, this is. It's not even like.
And this is like it's the fucking pool rounds.
Now, if you really hate Puerto Rico or you really hate the Mets, this is instant karma.
Yeah.
But really, of course, everyone accepts that this is just an unfortunate situation. He's celebrating the team's win, and he knocks himself out for the entire year.
So
do you remember when this happened against the Mariners once? Kendrys Morales was playing for the Angels. He had a walk-off home run at Safeco Field. He's circling the bases. He gets to home plate. He stomps on home plate emphatically and breaks his leg.
Yes.
That's instant.
That's
karma.
how my mom broke her leg, too. She hit a home run and fucking jumped up and down and landed it. It's just like it's so unfortunate. And if I'm a Mets fan, I'm like, well, fuck, I don't care about Team USA in this.
It's one of these things because this incident really sparked. I feel like this was the fuel that was thrown.
The inciting incident.
People were already like kind of getting all riled up on whether or not you were watching the World Baseball Classic.
Right.
But all the hot takes come out after Edwin Diaz gets hurt. Now you have all the people that are like, cancel the World Baseball Classic. It should never be played. And that, of course, sets off the people that are pro World Baseball Classic. And it's not even really about patriotism. Like, it's not like the people who love the World Baseball Classic are like, draped in the USA flag while they watch. They don't really care that much. I've seen a lot of the same people that spend their free time pointing out the problems in America also being very pro World Baseball Classic. It's not about patriotism. It's simply about like they love baseball so much, and it's almost like they want to be put on the higher level of fan than everybody else.
It's
right.
It is, to borrow like a cliche term, it's virtue signaling. It's baseball's answer for virtue signaling.
It is. It's like in some ways, if you are supporting all forms of baseball, then you are the best fan.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that do this, like I feel like maybe there's certain people that do this because they have a lot of time. They don't have kids. They're not married. They have the ability. Like, what else are they going to do on a Tuesday night besides tune into this baseball game? Nobody loves them.
Yeah. Yes. They can't. Nobody can. I wouldn't. I would never want to love someone like that.
It's like, dude, I watch.
I don't think they deserve love.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, is they don't deserve love. They're getting the exact amount of love they deserve. That's what I have to say.
I mean, there is, even though that's a funny joke at the same time, there is some, it's like you choose to do with your time what you want. And in turn, like the relationships you build or don't build as a result of all that are, based on how you have spent your time. But, I'm somebody that watches most Mariner games, and I would never expect most people to watch most Mariner games because first of all, there's 162 of them. Even if you love the Mariners, that's impossible to do. But it's one of those things like I just don't understand why we get so up in arms about it. Like, if you have kids, you're parenting your kids. You know, you're running them to practice or putting them to bed, and you're just not able to spend that time being
stopping a podcast so that they can take a shit and then starting back up.
It's like it's when your personality gets all consumed by one thing is when you run into problems, and it's like that. It's almost like the World Baseball Classic became like a vehicle for that type of person.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I mean, you know, if it wasn't the World Baseball Classic, it would be the World Cup or it would be fucking the Olympics. We've decided that, like, I think you can do it with the World Baseball Classic because we don't have any national pride in it.
Yeah.
Or there's no underdog thing where we feel like some pride if the U.S. wins. So there's not like the burden of patriotism to like create an even bigger fight.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that people give a shit about the fact that the U.S. I don't think there's like a patriotic. I think it's like watching the Dream Team where you're like, yeah, they're fucking NBA players. Like, of course they're going to win. They should win. And I think in that way, there's not like the most patriotic people aren't looking at it like these are the underdogs. We're like, you know, whatever the fucking Miracle on Ice guys or the like women's soccer team in '96 or whatever or the women's gymnastics team, I think the same year. Like, there was like an underdog element there, and then you feel like this weird swell of patriotism because some lady in Atlanta broke her ankle and still did a flip or whatever.
Carrie Strug. It's an iconic image.
Yes. There's a couple iconic images in the two examples that I mentioned. One is slightly more misogynistic than the other. Brandy Chastain.
Oh, yes. In the sports bar. That was a big deal. It's like now people go to the gym dressed like that. No problem. And at the time, it was a big freaking deal at the time.
I know. And yeah, it's strange. The sports bra is weird because it has become a top. And I think we've all just decided that's great.
I'm fine with it.
There's so many things about feminism
I'm fine with
that
all.
really benefit men.
It's not our place to discuss. Wear whatever you want. Look, man, most guys who go around with their T-shirts off bother me.
If I just walked around in compression shorts, no one's happy about that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna fucking get through a couple quick. So, Roger Goodell got extended. I do want to say one thing, and we can make this a longer topic if you want to debate me. He got extended, which is not a surprise because it gets decided by the owners. And football has been incredibly profitable for the owners for years.
Their best run has been with Roger Goodell as the commissioner. Yeah.
I will say I've never understood Roger Goodell, people hating Roger Goodell, unless you've only watched football during the time when Roger Goodell, because they're like, he's been maligned because the concussion thing. And I'm like, the concussion thing was happening in Tagliabue's time and before.
Well, the reason people don't like Roger Goodell is because they don't understand the role of the commissioner. They see the role of the commissioner as like for the people. And that's the exact opposite. He's for the owners. He's like the head owner, basically.
Yeah.
He represents them. He represents the owners. And if you understand that as his role and you see it through that lens, you can't really get mad at him. He's doing his job. And not only is he doing his job, he's doing his job better than probably any other commissioner that's come before him.
Yeah. Well, and also like remember when he came in, and there was the league's like conduct policy that had not been introduced under Tagliabue, and every time someone would get suspended, they'd be like, "Oh, this guy fucking Goodell, look what he fucked up." And I'm like, these guys just what happened was like guys would get in trouble and they'd get like fined with no suspension or
it was an overcorrection from the era that preceded that rule. Which the era that preceded that rule, if you think about the '90s, is guys were showing up in the headlines all the time for getting in trouble, and the NFL had really kind of picked up a bad rap, and they had to overcorrect.
They had earned it.
Yeah, it was not. I mean, it's not really fair to the people that were getting in trouble after that rule came along because they were probably being punished more harshly than they should have been. But
people were like, "Oh, Roger Goodell is fucking this up." Like the league, these guys are fucking up more under him, and it's like, no, they're just getting suspended more. They're just getting punished more.
Yeah, and I mean, it really just comes back to he's doing the bidding of the owners. The thing that makes it weird is that he also becomes the face of the NFL. So it's weird that a guy who represents the owners also speaks directly to the public, which we should be on opposing sides. You know, like if you're going to pick a side, pick the player's side.
Well, I don't know if that's true though. Like I understand where you're on the owner's side. We're against the owners when we're like buying tickets, paying for a $14 beer or whatever. But I don't know that the fan is always on the owner's side. or is always on the player's side. Except for, I do think it's weird when people are like, if I'm anybody in that league, I'm not management, right? I'm labor, and labor is the players.
Yeah.
So it is weird to me when people are like, well, he makes too much money. And then you're like, so like this billionaire should get more of it? Like, it's not like that money goes nowhere.
Pro athletics is the only time where like the average laborer in America is against the other laborers.
Right.
Because they put it in perspective of what they make, which you can't really do.
Sure.
You know, and it's
also, they only get to do the job for 3.5 years on average or something like that.
Right. Like, I can't compare my salary to like a professional actor, right?
Sure.
Like me and George Clooney, we shouldn't make the same money because
I agree.
We just shouldn't.
I agree.
Yeah. And people look at it through that lens of, okay, I'm making $30 an hour at my labor job, and this other guy who's an NFL player is getting paid $30 million a year. That's unfair to me. And it's like, well, it's all about, there's a lot of different economic things that you could look at that say this person is justified being paid what they are. And then on top of that, the company that he works for, which in this case is the NFL team that he plays for, is still making a ton of money, an inordinate amount of money compared to the salaries of the players that they're paying.
The other thing that annoys me, though, is when people are like, I'm like, well, I feel like that contract's too big. And they're like, well, it's not my money. And I'm like, okay.
I'm the guy who says it's not my money. I'm like, spend as much as you want.
But they can't. That's the thing.
I'll say I do it with baseball. With the NFL, it's different. I agree with the NFL because you have a salary cap. Sure. Totally different with the NFL. With baseball, I'm like, hey, no excuse. Be the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, you won't sustain a franchise like that. They'll have to sell all the time. They would have moved in the 90s. But
I mean...
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm like, in baseball, it's a little different. But yeah, like, people do that, and they're like, you know, whoever got paid too much. Geno Smith got paid too much, and it's not my money. It's like, well, it kind of is your money. If you're consuming the product, it is your contribution.
It's true.
And also, yeah, it's also like, they're never going to not. What I want more than anything is, though I want Geno Smith to get paid because I'm a human being and so is he, I'd like him to get compensated fairly for his job. I want the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. And so if that means that Geno Smith gets underpaid by the Seahawks, though I understand there's a moral conflict, I'm okay with it. I want the he's not being left in the streets either way, right?
He can feed his family. He's not Latrell Sprewell.
Right. It's so like, in that way, I'm like, I don't know if that's really the owner as much as it is like, that's just the team trying to be good.
Yeah, it's complicated with any sport because you have so many different sides. You have the player side, you have like the front office that operates separately from the owner theoretically, and then you have the owner. And so there's all different places where your anger can go, and it's really hard to know. And they're all kind of pitted against each other in different ways. It's really hard to know exactly where to take that venom when your team sucks.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, we've learned a lot about Russell Wilson the last year and from a lot of former players, right? And there's been this kind of like prevailing thing that guys are like, well, you should have kept the defense together. And it's like, you know what would have kept the defense together? If the defense wasn't asking for 70% of the fucking salary cap. Because you guys all played so good that they couldn't afford you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's like, yes, let fucking Malcolm Smith walk. Let these guys go because like they're no longer. It's not viable to keep them anymore. And
well, that's what makes the NFL so unique with the salary cap is that it's a hard salary cap that, you know, like baseball and basketball, they have these numbers that you shouldn't exceed, but if you exceed them, you just pay a penalty. Basically, the NFL doesn't let you.
NBA is a little restrictive on free agency.
Yeah, it's a little bit more restrictive.
But you can keep your own players.
MLB
really
is the wild, wild west, as the New York Mets can tell you. Their owner is just paying the penalties all over the place.
Same with the Dodgers.
Yeah, no, I mean, so in baseball, you can basically do whatever you want as far as spending money. Basketball, a little bit more restrictive. NFL, very restrictive by comparison. And if you are like pro labor, then you should be just against the NFL's model as a whole because the salary cap is limiting how much these people can make regardless of what
and the
position
contracts
they play.
aren't guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's funny in a lot of ways because when you think of like the consummate NFL fan, they are usually kind of on like a blue collar labor type, right? Sure. And that's the person supporting this thing that really goes against everything they should stand for in real life.
If the owner had to go out and fucking be on the field and be visible all the time.
Yeah.
The visible representation of the team. I think but you don't we do want people to blame, and we see Richard Sherman more than we see Paul. Yeah. Well, Paul Allen we haven't seen in a couple of years, but a typical. That's why we're
Jody Allen.
Yeah, Jody Allen. We don't see Jody Allen as much, and that's we don't see Jerry Jones as much as we see Dak Prescott, and that's probably not even true because Jerry Jones is a fucking narcissist.
He's ubiquitous.
Anyway. I think we basically agree on that. And I'm not surprised Roger Goodell's extended, and I think he's probably going to have that job until he doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have that for as long as he wants because he's doing exactly what the owners want.
Yeah.
And he's making them a ton of money.
Antoine Davis played for University of Detroit University, came 4 points shy of breaking Pete Maravich's college scoring record. Played on a dog shit team this year. Didn't make any of the postseason tournaments.
Yeah.
I like seeing records broken.
Yeah.
But this is a weird one because it's like not a good player, he's not a
known player. Yeah.
Right.
Pete Maravich is iconic by contrast. But there's some controversy around this because they could have got an invitation to the CBI, which is like the third or fourth best postseason basketball tournament. And something happened where people requested that they not invite them so he couldn't break the record or something like that. Or at least that's what he's alleging.
I think there was people were sending unsolicited emails asking for him to be there and also asking for him not to be there.
Yeah, they wanted to preserve Maravich's record.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Maravich can't weigh in because he's not living
hanging
anymore.
out with Paul Allen. I think... by the way, I did hear a thing on a podcast with two comics having a serious conversation, and there's a thing about comedy that makes you I am gonna explore some darker parts of these things.
No, I do the same thing, man. I'm a very dark humor type.
Yeah.
So
you did laugh at it. You just laughed at it.
I always
uncomfortable.
laugh at it. I'm thinking it. I just don't say it.
Yeah. I'm not burdened by that restraint.
Polish. I have the polish as the Walmart Bert Kreischer of this podcast.
Anyways, I don't really care.
Their team record sucked.
They were 12 and 19.
They were 3 or 4 games. They were a few games under 500. They weren't good enough to probably be in one of these tournaments anyway. But there's so many of these freaking tournaments now that anyone could probably get in. And maybe, look, for all we know, Antoine Davis is going to go into the NBA.
That's what I'm kind of curious about. Does he have any NBA potential?
Who knows? Yeah. I mean, he's 6'1", so he's probably not, highly projected. And he's a senior. Usually those...
That's bad. Well, that's the funny thing, too, is the in the era of Maravich, everybody played 4 years. And now this dude is playing 4 years because he's, at a small school
he's a
because
tweener.
he's not that good.
Yeah, he's just not...
I'm assuming they're going to say he should be undrafted. We're looking at a draft. Oh my God, this is
one of those articles that explains the entire process of what basketball is.
God, when you fucking get a recipe and you're like,
they talk about the process before.
I want to make egg salad. I got to hear about your grandma. I don't give a fuck about your grandma. Just tell me how many eggs to use.
I just read the last paragraph. It really comes to no conclusion about him. It's the worst article.
Perfect.
The worst article.
This is like early days of blogging where it would be like, it's really we're gonna find out. We'll have to wait and see.
That's exactly what this article came to.
You
fell
for
the clickbait.
I know. Does this voice? Is there a Trumpian quality to the raspiness of my voice? I hear it myself.
It's sultrier. You could probably do some sexual voiceovers.
Okay.
You can be the first one to comment on this article. I'd probably just say "fuck you."
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. I gotta try to learn how to do a Trump at some point. Okay. And then the last thing we want to see a video of. The last thing, meaning we're closing out.
This thing kind of took off just today. It happened today, this morning. We're recording this on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It happened this morning.
A day late because Alex had to relapse at a hockey game. And so this is at WEEI, which is apparently
it's in Boston.
It's a radio station in Boston. The Greg Hill Show, it would seem.
Boston, look, if you were ever going to draw any conclusion about the city of Boston without a whole lot of knowledge about it and the people that live there, what would you draw?
I would say that they really love beans. Is that not what is that not the reputation?
That's great. We'll keep it there. Boston has kind of picked up a rep over the last few years of being a little bit racist. And that's a very rough generalization.
Yeah, it's interesting because it has and it also has like the most educated people in the country.
It's an interesting space.
Okay, so anyways, what we find out after is that these folks are doing a list of their favorite airport liquors, which have a name that they're going to say on here, which it's a name that is a slur. It's a racial slur for Asians, but it's one that I personally know all the racial slurs.
You keep them in a list on your phone.
Yeah, I do. I need some. It's like a thesaurus. It's a racism thesaurus. I
really hate this guy. What should I call him?
I'm aware of like a lot of the racial slurs. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I guess like you watch movies or you fucking read books and you're gonna come across some ones. My grandpa, I will say, he was stationed in Okinawa in the Korean War, and a lot of men of his generation had a weird thing. Some of them are still alive, in the same way that I think men of our generation have a bias against Arabic or Middle Eastern people.
Yeah, it's certainly generational.
When you fight against those people, and especially when you're in like a country fighting against a country that is very ethnocentric, that is like very ethnically homogenous, it becomes very easy to go like, the Japanese guys killed my fucking friend. Yeah. It's not a soldier with differing opinions killed my friend. It's the Japanese, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand that. This is one that's like it's in a category of racial slur that I call the Gran Torino racial slurs, where you're like, this isn't a starting lineup racial slur. Okay.
I will say this as a half Japanese person.
Thank you. Finally, you take the burden off me.
Let me intervene. But as an Asian person, if anyone ever pulls a racial slur on you, now I'm saying this as somebody who lives in probably one of the most tolerant places in America. We would all agree that the Pacific Northwest is probably one of the most tolerant places.
It's got its issues that we could beef about at a different time.
If I was living in the southeast part of our country, I might have a completely different opinion on this, right?
Sure.
It's all geographic. But if someone pulls an Asian or like any sort of racial slur about Asians on me, they have really done their homework. They are really racist. Like if you actually are dropping slurs on an Asian person, like
are you not Asian enough to feel comfortable saying one?
I mean, I wouldn't
want you to say one. I'm just asking. I'm asking I'm not asking you to do
like
it.
A trap.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've never really been that type of person to drop any of those words, even with friends. Like, I think we all agree, like, when you're sitting around with your buddies, we all say some horrible things. Yeah. Everybody does. Everybody. Sure. If you have friends that you really trust, when you talk to them, even the most, morally high person in the world will say some terrible things.
I don't know any of those. But
you say things. If you trust these people, you'll do that. But I've never said any racial slurs. And that's not me being like a minority myself. That's not how I was brought up. And it's not like, I would never feel comfortable doing that.
Well, but Alex grew up with exclusively white people. We've now learned.
I'm a pretty tolerant person. But yeah, I mean, man, I think I've had racial slurs dropped on me like twice, and both times I was like, man, this person must be real racist, because I don't even like look that Asian. So like, you determined that I was Asian, and then they always get it wrong. It's like they drop a Chinese racial slur on a Japanese person because they just don't know.
Yeah. I could see
we're the chameleons of minorities, really.
Yeah. We're going to do two things: a domestic light beer taste test, and also me trying to pick out the different it's like a mix and match game of the racial slur to the people. I won't say that, like, I have Greg Beechler, the guy that was on the fight video that was the coach,
the trainer,
is a guy that, like, he and I have taken some road trips together, and it's like, we have said, by the way, he and I both have said some of the most horrific shit to each other.
Yeah.
Include, not like racial slurs. I'm not calling Greg racial slurs. I do have a joke, by the way, where my buddy in Atlanta did tell me that he's like, we're giving you the privilege to use the N-word. And I was like, I'm not.
No,
do
you
that.
do not want to.
I'm not
take
doing
that
it.
privilege.
Don't.
All it takes is one video. I mean, it's
This
bad.
is
Just
pre-cell
don't
phone.
do
Yeah,
it.
I didn't, but like, yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 90s listening to hip hop. Like, I've definitely sung a fucking racial slur in my life. Whatever. I'm not gonna pretend like I haven't, like you're not copping to it, but no. So my point is,
Look, this is completely off topic. I used to do.
We need to go off
I used to do karaoke.
this is great.
Every now and then, and one of the songs I learned all the lyrics to was "Juicy" by Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
And he drops a lot of racial slurs in that song, and I got to the point.
Notorious B.I.G. is very racist against black people.
Yeah, he's a known racist. I got to the point where
He's notorious
I could
about
do
it.
the whole song, but I was able to stop myself at each of those words, like
Nice.
the blanks. So I was very proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, whatever. As I get older, there's like, I have less fight in it. I think that what I get annoyed by virtue signaling white liberals most of the time.
Yeah, I mean that the terms themselves become the road flare that goes up as to whether someone's racist or not. And
Sure.
it's like there's a lot of people that don't say those words that are very racist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's like that should not be. I mean, that's a sign for sure, but like
Yeah.
our instinct is to be like, if we hear that word or any of those words, immediately that person is racist. Like you're missing all the people that don't say those words by doing this.
No, I do remember the first time I ever heard a white person use the N-word, and it was like, I mean, outside of like, actually, it was probably, I saw the movie Blazing Saddles, where I think, and so I have a black uncle.
Blazing Saddles. I also have a black uncle.
Do
That's
you?
funny. Yeah.
Wow, that's what we're connected on. Is that we have the exact same sports fanship, and we have a black uncle. My black uncle, Uncle Lanny, lived with us a lot of summers.
That should be the name of this book.
My black uncle. I don't know if we could get away with that one. But anyways, my mom, I don't know if she was mad at him or what, but she showed me Blazing Saddles one day. He like left for the day, and she's like, I'm going to show you this movie.
I mean, it's a hilarious movie.
It's a great
that
movie.
could not ever be made today.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it's fucking brilliant. It's so fucking fun.
really
Although
is,
it's like,
yeah.
can it not be made in the way that, like, to a degree, like Tropic Thunder was making the same kind of statement jokes, whatever.
Yeah.
Not all the way, but I remember very distinctly the first time I heard a white person use the N-word, not
Hard R.
hard R and like meant to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
And I was in elementary school, and a kid said it, and I remember because it's like a kid I grew up with, and I'm like, oh, we all listen to hip hop. Like at that age in my school, every white kid listened to hip hop.
Yeah.
We worshipped black people when I was in 5th grade. And so to me, it was like insane to have some sort of like disconnect of like you fucking turn on MTV and you're like thinking a different thing. You're like watching this and you're having a very different experience for me watching this. But so this is a lot of buildup for this. What is now I'm going to defend this guy.
Oh God. Well, that's good because I can definitely take the other side.
All right. So
Begs the question: top 5 nips.
Oh yes, that's a great one.
Because Dr.
Curtis brought up-
McGillicuddy's, I think, is number 1 or 2.
I would
Screwball
say-
also up there,
I'd probably go Mina Kimes.
and Fireball.
Fireball.
Like,
okay.
I'm not taking it.
So I'm not.
Yeah, you can stop there. That's
Yeah.
the important part.
So very funny, by the way. The story that comes out about this, Mina Kimes is like a Seattle darling.
Yeah.
She must be from here. I actually
No,
don't know.
she's not from here.
She just loves the.
I've seen the story. For her dad, I think, was from here.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so he was
Papa
passionate about
Kimes.
Seattle. He's passionate about Seattle sports teams. That's how she got into them. But just to I know you prefaced this, but that was like 5 minutes ago. Nips, what they're talking
Take
about.
it easy, Alex. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're gonna fucking ruin us. Oh my God.
That's what these people in Boston
fucking
call
Boston
the
pieces of shit.
airplane shot liquors.
And
They call
apparently,
it
what
nips.
you call ethnic minorities, Jesus, Alex.
So they're throwing this term around talking
Yeah.
about liquor.
Yeah.
And then this guy drops an Asian person's name
Yeah.
in the middle of it. And you can see look at, you paused it at the perfect place. If you look at, so his partner's starts laughing as soon as he says it, and then this guy gets the slyest grin you've ever seen. Like, he knew what he was doing.
So
but tell the follow-up story, because this is where I think it takes a left turn.
So he said what he was trying to say was Mila Kunis and not Mina Kimes.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to tell you that in conversation, I've mixed up those names multiple times.
Sure.
My genuine opinion is I don't think this dude was trying to make a racist joke.
And my opinion is the exact opposite of that. Because in watching the video and just seeing the reaction and then seeing his reaction, the guy who said it, his reaction to his partner's reaction, I mean, you can see it in his eyes. He knew what he was doing. He did not mean me. And also, like, okay, if you said, like...
Is there more to this video? It's
not...
The McGillicuddy, though. But do you like the purple?
Yeah, there's not much more.
I think this dude realizes... I don't think this dude knows he fucked up yet. In third grade, I was in the spelling bee. I took third place. I missed on oceanography. I knew how to spell oceanography. I left out the A in ocean. For fucking years, was like, I spelled it correctly.
Yeah.
They were wrong. My parents were like, no, we have a video. And they showed me the video, and obviously I was wrong. I don't think this dude knows he fucked up yet. And I think this dude's going like, I hope nobody's listening right now, because that's fucking crazy.
I think, yes, I would agree with you that the partner who is kind of like, he's in some ways an innocent bystander, but also a participant, and he gets hit with the friendly fire of his partner's comment in some ways. That whatever happened there is whatever. But the story afterwards about possibly saying Mila Kunis, like he screwed up Mila Kunis and Mina Kimes. I understand that that's happened to you, and that's how you can relate to this person.
Well, no, I have a story of me fucking up on stage though that I will tell you.
Okay,
I'll tell it on the podcast.
I think in this case, that's not. I think it's a bad situation where you're like, I have to choose between being racist and misogynist at this point in my excuse. I'm definitely going to pick misogynist. That won't get me in as much trouble, even though it'll probably get me in trouble regardless. But look, if you're making a misogynist joke, then you're basically taking the word nips that they use for liquor and applying it towards, I would assume, nipples.
Yeah.
Mila Kunis is not like, okay, if you said Jennifer Aniston, we all have watched Friends. It's like a running joke with Friends for years and years and years. Jennifer Aniston's nipples were always poking out, right? Like, so if you say Jennifer Aniston, then like we could draw that connection logically. There's no connection between Mila Kunis.
I do think that there is. I don't know if it's iconic, but I did do some journalistic research, and I do believe there's a Mila Kunis nip slip video in existence.
See, but you have to do that.
I'm a journalist, Alex. For journalism, Mina Kimes makes Mila Kunis her profile picture on Twitter. Perfect reaction. Perfect response.
She did exactly like the best possible thing you could do.
Yeah.
I mean,
because she doesn't have to go out, and she doesn't have to be publicly outraged.
Yeah.
She just has the funniest fucking response.
And in another example, like, let's assume he was trying to make a racist joke. Once again, you put the wrong racial slur on the wrong ethnicity. He made a slur about Japanese people. Mina Kimes is, I believe, Korean American.
Yeah.
They never get it right.
Again, it's the Gran Torino. Gran Torino, he was just throwing out like a shotgun shell of racial slurs, and he was catching. Those were Hmong people. I
never watched the movie, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I've heard about this. I've heard about this many times.
It's fucking crazy. I was learning new ones. I'm not going to say it.
Do you think Clint Eastwood was acting? Or was that really Clint Eastwood?
They just put Asian people in front of him and he just screamed
They probably didn't even know they were filming a movie. He thought it was like a Jackass type thing.
Anyway, I'm going to tell you my story, which is I was hosting this show. 2 black comics on the show. That's the most I'll allow. Just kidding. See, that's like a joke that's in a similar. It's not the one. We're on a podcast. These guys are on an FCC regulated show. Robert Moore and a guy named Barunji, who's actually going to be the guest on Nobody Likes Casey McLean. These podcasts might both come out the same day.
Okay, interesting.
Barunji. Well, we did this one a day late, so
yeah, that happens.
I don't want to keep the fucking 4 listeners of Nobody Likes Casey McLean waiting because you and I couldn't figure this out. Anyway, Barunji, when I met him, and for years he went by Robert Barunji, And then he had this kind of like awakening to Robert's like, by the way, Robert actually was his name. I thought when he changed it, I thought it was like, I went to college and there was international students and you'd meet like a Rebecca. And Rebecca is like a Chinese international student that doesn't speak a word of English. Your name isn't fucking Rebecca. It's fine. I don't know. It's weird that we have to do that these people come here and they have to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like you feel like in some ways you have to assimilate.
Sure.
And fit in.
Yeah. But I assumed that's what it was.
Right.
And that he changed it because he didn't want to be known by this name that he picked when he came to the United States. Turns out what it is there's a bunch of Christian and British colonizers in Uganda where he's from. I think it's that. And he got named Robert because that's like what the Ugandan culture has evolved into. And everybody's got basically European names.
Yeah.
So, but I've always known him as Robert. And then he had like recently changed it and was like, he wasn't like mad at anyone for calling him, but I was trying to be respectful. I'd call him Burunji no matter what. So his name now is legally Burunji. His first name's Burunji, last name is Burunji.
I like it when the first name, you see in college basketball, it happens a ton.
Sure. Bol.
Kwani is a guy who plays for Cal right now. Bol, at Oregon. Bok was probably the best one. Also a Cal. Cal basketball seems to get a lot of the dual name guys.
Yeah, Burunji might have been able to play at Cal soccer. I don't think he's taller. He's about 5'6". Anyway, I'm doing a show with him and another black dude named Robert Moore.
Yeah.
And there was something where I was like bringing one of them back to stage, and I go, like, get back up here, Robert. And the crowd only knows him as Burunji.
Yeah.
And there's a stereotype that white people think black people all look the same.
I didn't know about that.
Did you not know that?
No, I knew.
Okay, good. And so the crowd, I go, Robert, come back up here. I mean, Burunji. And the crowd all does this math. They're like, oh, he's one of these fucking piece of shit white guys that doesn't know that black people are different from each other. Right. And in the moment, I'm like, I'm confused why the crowd's laughing and why they're like kind of pulling back a little bit too. And so in that moment, like obviously that's a more honest mistake than what's happening here. Cause I tend to think he was probably, but it is weird because I do agree. Like nobody's like, okay, I think what you said, I might actually agree with you now. I actually think that if that joke was told by a comedian on a podcast, I would laugh at it, but because it's like a Boston sports radio station.
That they have kind of this, obviously I started digging into this a little bit and started reading all the people who know this show. We don't know. Yeah. We're just two guys coming into this because of this situation.
I just want to make fun of it. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, and look, we've been close enough to sports radio to, I think, know that there is a certain type of person that gravitates towards that industry. And there are a lot of good people in that industry, but there are a lot of people that might have some undertones to what they're doing. And this might be a really good example of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if this joke got made in like I guess I'm not the person to say this, Alex. You're the person to say it. But
you can just think it to me. Yeah. Maybe I'll pick it up.
If this got made in like a group chat full of friends, I don't think nobody's having a serious discussion with the joke teller. But I think that, like, again, that's not, it's also like there's so many dynamics. Like if Mina Kimes, I mean, again, it's like if you made that joke about a comedian, comics, there's like a dynamic with comics where you expect to be made fun of. Mina Kimes is like a respected journalist.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not out fucking making racial jokes.
She doesn't know these guys because I saw like there was no, she doesn't really have a connection to these people. So it's not like you're poking fun at a friend and they're going to be cool with it. Like we've all been in that situation where it's like kind of an inside joke with you and that person you're poking fun at. But
me and Greg Beechler saying horrible shit driving through the mountains of Idaho.
The outside world might not understand that when they hear it, right? Yeah. In this case, it was like totally out of nowhere. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Again, for me, it was just, it's amazing that there is video footage of this because I think that adds so much to the context of what's going on. If you just hear it, you might buy that it was just a slip of the tongue and he meant Mila Kunis or somebody else or whatever he was trying to convey. But for me, it's like watching the video and seeing the reactions. I agree. There is the possibility that his reaction is like, why is my buddy laughing laughing at this?
Yeah.
And his laughter is like kind of an uncomfortable laugh. It's not it's not like I thought that was hilarious and I'm with you. It was like, yeah, I hope no one's listening to this right now.
Yeah. So it's also, by the way, I think one thing we shouldn't ignore is that if he met Mila Kunis, that doesn't like absolve him. It's still bad radio.
It's bad regardless. It's definitely one of those things that like you said, if that joke is made in the group chat, yeah, no one's having an intervention with that person, but it's crickets most likely, right? It shuts down the group chat for a while. Like no one's going to respond to
There's
it.
No Asians in my group chat, I guess.
They change the subject to something else. We'll be like, we'll give you that one free pass, and after this, we might not be as close of friends anymore if this keeps up, you know?
Well, also, I think that is like, if that joke is a little more wild than like, it's a little more like, if that's the actual joke he was trying to make, which there's two ways to analyze this. I think one of them is, I'm still not fully convinced, but let's say it is. I don't even think, again, like, if that's what they said, I agree. I think that joke could be made in the group chat. I do think that specific joke is a little more racist than other. And also,
for sure, because you basically took this term that the example I go back to is, you remember Billy Packer, the college basketball analyst? He died actually a few weeks ago, but one of his most memorable incidents and a regrettable one is that, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago it was either during the NCAA tournament or just during a big college basketball game of some sort. He was like a CBS analyst, and he dropped the F word that people would sometimes use to classify homosexual people.
Gotcha. Okay.
The bad one.
Tom Brenneman. The Tom Brenneman.
Yes. You can say fuck and get away with it. No one really cares.
Yeah.
But if you drop the other F word, that's bad. So he did that, and the cover-up, his excuse was that he was referring to what British people call cigarettes.
Of course, like we all
do in everyday vernacular as Americans, right?
When am I not talking about British cigarettes?
Yeah, the excuse is almost it's not as bad, obviously, as the crime, but it's such a dumb cover-up that you're
that
like,
one's so much more obviously
how stupid. Yeah, how stupid do you think people are? And this one is like, to me, it's not on par with that. It's just a notch below, though. It's not much better. I mean, you're basically saying, hey, I'm not a racist. I'm just a terribly unfunny misogynist.
I think there's a version of this, like the Howard Cosell thing, where he says the thing that's like, look at that monkey run, and then you can go back and see him saying it about a white player.
Yeah.
And then there's the fucking Don Imus nappy-headed hose thing.
That was...
that's like wild, right? Like that's, to me, this is like, if this is in fact him making the joke, the Mina Kimes joke, that's Don Imus, not Howard Cosell.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, these are really tough topics to discuss. Like these are probably things that most mainstream radio shows will not be talking about tomorrow, but this became a huge story almost immediately because of how egregious it could be. And, I mean, the one thing I really don't like about these types of situations is that if you're this dude, instead of coming up with this excuse about Mila Kunis, just accept the fact that you fucked up and say, look, whether my intent was there or not, and I screwed up a bad joke or whatever, I fucked up. It did not land. Just take some accountability for what you did.
I see what you're saying, but like, truly, it's probably the difference between keeping his job and losing his job, or losing his job and getting another job in the future and losing his job.
That's true.
And it's like, the problem is we've made that the consequence. It's like, if you fuck up in this moment, which is like, if it is that, let's go down that path where it is that. He did say this thing and it's like a racist joke on a publicly broadcasted radio station over the airwaves, FCC regulated. I'm like, this dude shouldn't never be able to work again, in my opinion. Now, if he gets fired from this job, I think it's like potentially justifiable. And I do think like we don't allow people to fucking correct their behavior. It's like one of those crisis, like the crisis handbook is like, don't fucking apologize. because apology is an admission of guilt, and like the only way it sucks. I agree with you, but I also think like our entire society is built around not allowing people to have make a graceful apology, and we're just gonna fucking go for blood until we're done.
No, I would agree with you that is like it's a plague in our society in that society wants to be the one that takes you through the redemption tour, right? Like if you fuck up, we want to be the ones to tear you down and take everything away from you. And then we also want to be the ones to help build you back up and watch your rise and watch you.
Who do we want to see? Who do they let rise? They don't let anyone rise.
Dude, Americans love a good comeback story.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think they love to see people continue to spiral, and we get the opportunity. I think these people show up on Celebrity Rehab, not fucking.
I think through the lens of social media, that is true. I think in real life, people love the redemption story. But I agree with you. In social media, a lot of times I question like what is the outcome you're looking for, because there's a lot of people, especially when you get into situations like these where the vitriol is justified. But there are situations that are much more innocuous than this.
Yeah, we use innocuous a lot on this podcast.
I noticed that in one episode. Yeah. Okay, they're not as bad as this, and and you look at some of the replies to things, and people just want to tear you down. Like, and I seriously question, like, what is the outcome you want? Would you be happy if this person like ceased to live from this point forward? Because that's often what it feels like. And this starts delving into the whole idea of cancel culture and things like that.
Such a great topic.
Which is very, very tough to navigate. But I guess for the people that, want to take people down, like, what do you want the outcome to be? Because my ideal outcome for this person would be like, hey, if he really made this racist joke, he does not deserve to have this job anymore. But what I would hope would happen is that he would learn from it, make himself a better person, and then become an advocate for whatever it is that he's learned during that recovery process, and be able to go and look back on that at one point and say, hey, not only did I become a better person, but I helped make other people more tolerant and understand this as I grew, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be like the perfect outcome if he indeed made this racist joke. But it seems like what a lot of people want is for this person to just die in a fire.
Yeah. No, I think so I think like those are the two alternatives this guy's looking at, is like, I can just eat shit for a couple weeks, be viewed as a misogynist, which in sports radio historically has not been a big problem.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you and I grew up in a time. Well, this is going to be the longest episode. I don't know how long my fucking daughter cried for it and pooped, but.
You can cut that part out.
Yeah, we'll cut that out, but that leaves us, we're over 2 hours with that.
Okay, so we're like a 145-ish.
Nobody's reaching the home run game. We should talk about the home run game. We could go round and round on this racism thing. Me defending it, you going against racism. It's just
it's a tough topic, man, but it's important that we have these conversations, because I think a lot of people it's easier to avoid these conversations because everybody feels like they're at risk of getting in trouble having them. But I think when you have two people that are willing to discuss them in a somewhat informed light, we're not super informed, but we're at least trying to handle them with care.
I think the greatest apology is changed behavior, which I think is what you're saying about the advocate thing. To me, absolutely. I think that's the dream, but I think that's like the movie version of it. I think in most cases, I'd like this guy to stop making racist jokes on the radio or in his personal life.
Yeah.
Or start a stand-up comedy career. These are the other options. Okay. Let's play the home run game because we got to get out of here.
I actually researched this ahead of time.
So I think I kind of like what we were doing the last one.
You just guessed the number. I like that. I like that too.
Okay. So I'll be interested if we ever come across the same one, that'll be interesting.
That'll be hilarious, in fact.
So mine is a guy who was like one of the, I don't want to try to on my phone figure out if this is true or not, but in my mind he was like a can't miss prospect.
Okay.
In the like conversation, maybe like a tier below a Griffey, but like a top level prospect.
Okay.
A left-handed hitting outfielder, played for the Atlanta Braves, Cleveland baseball team.
David Justice.
It's
David Justice, yes.
He played 14 years in Major League Baseball, and I think we should stop giving games at bats, and plate appearances.
You can math those a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But I like the years. The years is helpful. And David Justice had a
years.
very long career, and while he never became what everyone thought he was going to be, he still was a very productive hitter for a long time.
Yeah.
He's featured in Moneyball, the movie about the 2001 A's. So.
Which is, by the way, it's
2000 A's.
It's the first time sports fans get to go read the book. It's way better.
Yeah, it actually is. The movie is not great.
I can't believe, did it win an Oscar or it got nominated?
I don't think it won.
Offended. It was the first time I've been like, fuck the Oscars.
It was not a well-done movie. They really glossed over a lot.
Even like you watch like they had like Royce Clayton playing Miguel Tejada, and you're like, how is it that a former big leaguer at that same position still looks weird playing?
And he doesn't look anything like Miguel Tejada.
Yeah,
they don't look at all.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Justice, man, I don't think he made it to 300, but he was probably right around there, somewhat close to it. I'm going to say 289.
305 home runs.
Pretty fucking close.
Yeah, pretty close. He did make it to 300.
Okay,
which
I wasn't sure.
That threshold makes it feel weird. The home run thresholds are going to be really what we're getting at, right? It's like which tier do we think he's in?
That's pretty good. I mean, that's strictly longevity because he was like, and most guys when they're like those uber prospects that don't live up to the hype, their careers fizzle quick or they get to the end and they really suck. But he actually stayed productive to the end. He was married to Halle Berry. And I think he was abusive to Halle Berry, so he's kind of a fucking monster.
Yeah, I think there was another woman I think he was married to. The reason he even came into my mind is because I saw it was something about how he was like going through women, and it's like you're not going to be a ball player forever.
I remember when he said he had a sex addiction.
Oh man,
which is the playbook for being an asshole, basically.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't want to shit on the mental health stuff, but sex addiction is something I've never had. Like I could become an alcoholic. I have access to alcohol.
It's like, and he was doing this in the 90s. No one was claiming sex addiction.
Unless you're fucking dudes, I don't believe it.
Tiger Woods blew the roof off that sucker.
Yeah.
Now everyone's like, I'm just like Tiger. I'm addicted to sex. It's like, well, he can actually get it, though.
So he wins 1990 Rookie of the Year. He receives MVP votes in 5 seasons and is a 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger winner, which is a pretty goddamn good career.
Pretty good career.
It was the expectation is like Hall of Fame.
People thought he was going to be the next best thing for sure. Okay, I have a guy for you that's also some people would consider a monster. He's a switch hitter. He played for 14 years, in fact. Pretty longer career than I thought. He played for a number of teams. He played for the Florida Marlins initially, for the New York Mets, the Houston Astros, the Boston Red Sox, who I associate him most with the Red Sox, but he was only there for 2 years. Then he went to the Rangers, the White Sox, the Expos, the White Sox again, and his career ended as a Seattle Mariner in 2006.
God, you love these guys. You love former Expos.
I like guys that were like played a long time and only had a brief blip with the Mariners.
Yeah.
Because in this case, this would be your lasting memory of him would be with the Mariners. It's Carl Everett.
Carl Everett. Did not believe dinosaurs existed.
Jurassic Carl, yeah. He was one of those. He's like the original Kyrie Irving, just with a slightly different subject.
I feel like Carl Everett's one of those guys, too, that we were always like, by the way, I'm going to be way further off from this than you were on David Justice. I can feel it already.
16 away is a pretty, that's
pretty good.
Tough. That's going to be tough. Yeah.
And I don't have a compilation. I'm going to start adding these up and we'll start talking about how far apart we are. Because you're crushing me.
I think I'm doing pretty well, but I feel like I'm getting lucky. But I will say, 2-time All-Star. He was an All-Star in 2000 and 2003. So he had some good seasons in there. And obviously he played 14 years, so he played for quite a long time. He was another guy that was around the same time with David Justice was considered a super prospect and never really lived up to it.
Yeah, I remember, and it was every year he was also like, I mean, he obviously moved teams a lot, but it was like every year they're like, oh, we got to, Carl Everett's. I feel like he was in trade rumors for the Mariners it was like Al Martin was around for 3 years or something.
I mean, he bounced around to teams because I think most people didn't like him. So
they
got him there because of his talent, and then he quickly rubbed everyone the wrong way.
I've heard stories about him being an asshole that I don't even remember enough details to be able to tell.
He's the only guy to try and fight Jamie Moyer, who hit him with a changeup or a curveball. It's like, come on, man. But he was. I mean, part of the reason he was a big prospect, he was drafted 10th overall in the 1990 draft by the Yankees. So immediately, if you're a Yankees first-round pick, everyone's going to know who you are.
My memory of Carl Everett is that he looked like a power hitter, and his power numbers were disappointing. And consistently, there wasn't like something that he like crushed. Like he wasn't like a guy that, well, he didn't hit a lot of home runs, but he hit 50 doubles a year or something. Like
Yeah,
that.
I'll give you this info about him. He looked like a big hulking slugger, but his listed height and weight is 6 feet tall, 181 pounds, which I'm sure by
That's
the
got to
end
be
of
draft day. I bet he was 240.
But he was 6 foot, so he's not
Sure.
like it's not like he's this really big dude.
I'm going to go 195 home runs.
You are closer than I was.
Oh, thank God. I thought,
202.
Oh,
hell of a
fucking
guess.
A,
So
yeah.
We're getting pretty good at this.
Yeah.
This is one of those useless skills that we're going to be able to take to bars and impress no one with.
I know. Well, especially it's not like we're like, I know the exact number. It's like I could get within 10%.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
7 away is that might be the closest we've had. I can't remember how close I was on Lampkin. I was pretty close on Lampkin, but I don't think I was 7 away. And that was a much smaller window too, because he was only like around 60-ish home runs for his career, right?
Yeah, we'll go back and listen to him and get the full. We'll get some data on this.
We got to collect like total number away and then like percentage, because 7 out of 202 is a hell of a percentage right there.
Yeah, I feel good about that. That's good. I can't imagine when I looked at Carl Everett's baseball reference page last, but it's got to be like, what year did he play for the Mariners? Like
2006. And that's the last year of his career. The most home runs he ever hit in a season in 2000, one of his All-Star seasons with the Red Sox, he hit 34. He hit 28 in his other All-Star season.
I would have guessed 30 home runs. And my guess is he's one of these guys that hits about as many doubles as home runs.
The 34 home run year, which was the most home runs he ever hit in a season, he had 32 doubles. So he's basically
What's
always
his career doubles.
258.
Oh, a little more. At some point
it's pretty close though. I mean, they're basically right in line with, like, when you add up the total number, it's much higher. But when you look at each season, it's like within just a couple of each other.
This is the kind of guy that I feel like earlier in his career, the Mariners could have easily overpaid for him at some point.
It's kind of shocking that they never did. But yeah, I mean, he never stayed. The longest tenure he had with any team was he spent 3 years with the Mets from 95 to 97. And at that point, he's still a prospect. So they're probably like, yeah, this guy's a huge headache, but he's 24 years old. What are we going to do?
Yeah. All right. We should, that'll be the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody. And we're going to record an intro.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's exciting for everyone to find out we're recording an intro at the end. All right.